Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the final installment for Breaking Dawn. We are going to finish up the original series today, and what I need from y'all is to comment down below and let me know if you guys want to see Midnight Sun next or Life and Death. Midnight Sun is Twilight through Edward's POV. Life and Death is gender bent Twilight, but it actually has a different ending. I feel like we're ready to hop in, so if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit the like button because it really does help a girl out. If you want to see more content from me, make sure that you're subscribed. And if you want to see even more content from me, I have a Patreon, so feel free to check that out if you want to. Just know that I really appreciate y'all's support, and everything that y'all do over on Patreon really gives me the capability to continue making these videos. So just thank you so much. Y'all will recall from the last video, Breaking Dawn is split into 3 books. We've already done books 1 and 2. Let's hop into the final one, shall we? We are immediately getting a POV change. We were with Jacob. We are back to being with Bella. Thank goodness. We do not start exactly where the last one left off. Book 2, which is in Jacob's POV, left off with him imprinting on Renesmee, the newborn baby. This means that we've already gone through the labor and delivery of this baby. But book 3, we are in Bella's POV for the labor and delivery process. So even though we've seen a bit of that from Jacob's point of view, we now get to see it from Bella's, and let me tell you, it is not a fun time. It would not be a Stephanie Meyer book without starting off with a quote from another book. So let me do a little dramatic reading for y'all, shall I? This quote is from Orson Scott Card in Empire. Personal affection is a luxury you can have only after all your enemies are eliminated. Until then, everyone you love is a hostage, sapping your courage and corrupting your judgment. Y'all know the drill by now. You know that we cannot immediately hop into chapter 1 without a little bit of Bella's POV from later in the story. Bella's thinking to herself, oh, this is no longer a nightmare. It's no longer a nightmare, and we are outnumbered by a lot. And I don't think all of us are gonna make it through this time. But oh my goodness, something has shifted. Something has changed. I don't understand. Normally I would be so scared in this situation, but I'm ready. And if you're wondering, what's different? What's changed? It's Bella. Bella is no longer afraid for what's coming for them. Bella is ready to fight them. Bella's fear has turned into fury, into bloodlust like an animal. Put a pin in this moment. We will come back to it way later down the road, but put a pin in it. All Bella could feel right now was pain, and she described this pain as bewildering, aka confusing. She's confused. And this pain that she is feeling is because her body is going through the ringer. We are back to her being in labor. We are back to that intense moment, so her body is going through it right now. She is desperately trying to stay conscious. She's having these 2 realities of sorts. We have this red reality, and the red is essentially the pain that she is in. She compares it to being sawed in half, to being run over by a bus, to being dunked in acid. And then we have non-reality, which is black, and there's really no pain there or anything to be felt when she's in this reality. And this is the one she's trying to get out of. She's trying so hard to not fade into the black. And y'all, even though Bella is feeling the worst pain known to mankind, vampire kind, whatever you want to call it, the worst pain imaginable, she can still hear everything that's going on around her. She is hearing Edward shouting, just like we saw in the last video. She's hearing all of that in real time. In fact, Bella hears them talking about the baby's detached placenta, and all she can think about now is, get this baby out of me. Get this baby out of me. It cannot breathe. We need to save him. I don't care what you have to do. Save him. And Bella is shouting this even though she keeps hearing Edward say the morphine has not kicked in yet. She's like, I don't care. Save this baby. This is also where she refers to the baby as EJ. Now, in the previous video, when we were in Jacob's POV, he believed that EJ stood for Edward Jr. In Bella's mind, when she came up with EJ, it wasn't for Edward Jr. It was for Edward Jacob. Bella also hears Jacob screaming right now, like, Bella, your heart cannot stop. Keep that heart beating for me, Bella. And all Bella can think of is, oh my God, Jacob stayed. Jacob's still here, my friend Jacob. And also she responds to him in her mind. So she's like, well, duh, I'm gonna try and keep my heart beating. Edward now sees the baby and he tells her that it is Renesmee. And Bella's immediate thoughts are, Renesmee? I thought it was gonna be a boy. This vision that I've been having of our baby has always been a boy. What? And then after a second, she's like, wait, Renesmee. This was a little jarring for her because, as we saw, she literally was convinced that this was going to be little baby EJ. But no, we have Renesmee. We got Miss Rigatoni, Ratatouille, Renaissance herself. And I'm gonna be putting her on the board very, very soon. Bella immediately asks to hold Renesmee, and when they hand Renesmee to her, the baby's skin is hot. In fact, Bella immediately compares the temperature of her baby to Jacob's skin. Bella's holding Renesmee until she feels this little blimp of pain again, and then all of a sudden they rip Renesmee away from her. And Bella is so angry that they took her baby away from her, but she really can't do anything because she is fading fast. And at this point, it's hard for her just to find the energy to keep fighting. But she knew she couldn't give up. She knew she couldn't leave Edward. She knew that if she passed away, Edward would soon be following her. And to give you all a quote, she thinks, this is on page 373, by the way, "A world without Edward seemed completely pointless. Edward had to exist." And then Bella thought of Jacob. She thought about how many times she hurt Jacob and he kept coming back. And Bella knew that all Jacob needed at this point in his life was for her just to exist as well. Bella is still fading. This non-reality is trying to take over and she is losing any will she has to fight. So she's trying to think of all the people that need her, like Edward, Jacob, Charlie, Rosalie, Alice, Carlisle, Renee, Esme, and now Renesmee. All she can feel is heat. It is hot and it is everywhere and it is uncomfy heat. It's not like a little, oh, turn a fan on me. No. This is a heat you cannot get away from. And Bella's just thinking to herself, oh, maybe I should have chose the black reality. Maybe I should have just faded into the abyss because this is rough. In fact, this is the worst for pain. And what makes it even more miserable is the morphine has now kicked in, so she can't move at all. So she's just stuck, essentially paralyzed, feeling like she's being pinned down while she's suffering through all of this pain. And a big reason why Edward and Carlisle chose to use morphine is that they thought, maybe, just maybe, if we put enough painkillers or something strong enough in Bella's body, maybe the venom won't be as bad. They tried something similar with Emmett when he first turned, but the venom worked faster than whatever they gave him, and so whatever they gave him could not spread throughout his whole body, meaning he still felt everything. So this time with Bella, they're like, maybe if we give her a lot of morphine, the pain won't be there. And you know what? Joke's on them, because the pain is still there, but the morphine is basically just holding her down while the venom is ripping through her body. So it is still horrible and excruciating, and bless her heart. Ugh. And when I say it's preventing her from doing anything, it is literally preventing her from even screaming. So as we saw in the last book, Bella's just there, motionless. This is why. This is why she's not screaming, and she's thinking, maybe it's actually a good thing I can't scream because I would definitely be asking them to end me right now. I would be asking for it to be the end of me because I don't think I could go on. Bella has no clue how much time has passed, but she does know of 3 things that happen at the exact same moment. 1, time started over. 2, the morphine has weakened. And 3, Bella was strong. Bella slowly felt herself gain control of her body. And when I say slow, I mean slow. It is like a twitch of a finger eventually going into a fist, and so on and so forth. Now, I don't want any of y'all to get it twisted. The pain is still there. But this pain was a different experience for her. She was no longer feeling like she was being held down with the venom. She now felt like she was fighting to stay with the venom. Bella also has regained her sense of hearing, and so she can hear everyone in the room around her. Bella hears Edward stressing that he did something wrong, that maybe he messed up and he's lost Bella forever. We hear Carlisle saying, no. Can't you hear her heart? It is perfectly fine. Don't you worry. You did exactly what you needed to do. In fact, I don't think I would have been able to keep doing what you did. As we saw in the previous book and in the movie, Edward was dedicated to keeping Bella alive. And he was dedicated to getting that venom to spread. I do want to be a little more specific because I feel like the book truly doesn't go into depth why hearing her heartbeat matters. The reason that Carlisle being able to hear Bella's heartbeat is important is it shows that she is 1, still alive, and 2, She's human. The morphine is just what is making her not be able to move, and it's holding her down. Once that heartbeat fades, that means the venom has fully worked and she will wake up. That is literally the last thing that happens to a person before they become a vampire. Their heart stops. Few seconds later, your eyes are opening up and you're a vamp. So that is why he mentions that he can still hear Bella's heart. It's not that vampires have heartbeats, because they don't. It's because the morphine is what is making her not be able to move or make any noises or anything like that. Edward questions Carlisle and he's like, what about her spine? You didn't see her spine. What if the venom doesn't fix any of that? And Carlisle says all of her injuries were similar to Esme's when I saved Esme. And Esme turned out just fine. You did a good job, son. Bella doesn't know exactly how much time has passed, but she is counting her breaths. And a few breaths later, Alice is now the one in the room. And Alice is saying, Bella should wake up soon. If you can recall from my last little video, Alice was really struggling with her visions because Renesmee being inside of Bella messed up the reception that Alice got to seeing Bella in her visions. Alice is not stressed and is very happy right now because Bella is back in her visions. She can see her and she knows that Bella is about to wake up. And here's a really interesting thing. As we know, Alice was frustrated that she wasn't able to see Bella all that well when she was pregnant. And Alice says, this irks me. I can see vampires so well because I am one. I can see humans okay because I was one. I can't see that thing because I've never been that thing and I don't even know what it is. The thing being Renesmee. And it's very similar to the werewolves because Alice has never been a werewolf. Bella is still not awake, but she can literally tell who all is talking downstairs. So her hearing is getting even stronger to where she can hear everything happening on the floor below her. Bella hears Rose asking for a turn and she doesn't ask it in a very nice way, which leads one to believe that she's talking to Jacob, which then makes Bella think, Jacob is still here? Why is Jacob still here? He hates that thing. Why would he hang around it voluntarily? And that's just like so crazy. I don't understand why Jacob, who absolutely hates this baby and didn't want me to have this baby, why would he hang around it of his own free will? We're gonna find out soon. I do want to note that Bella is still feeling pain at this moment, and the only thing really getting her through is her focusing on Edward's breathing. But this pain has turned into more of a burning sensation, especially in her throat. And that means she's hungry, y'all. More of the Cullens are entering the room where Bella is at, except for Rose, because Rose is with Renesmee. We can also assume that Jacob is with the baby as well. And Bella hears Edward say, keep the baby out of this room. We need to keep Bella away from the baby. And this makes Bella so angry. She's like, why are you trying to keep me from my baby? Excuse me? Excuse me? Why won't they let me have my baby? It's a good thing he said this because it made her so angry that her whole hand twitched. And after a bit, Bella was awake. I interpreted the moment Bella woke up as someone who desperately needs glasses to put on their first pair of glasses. Blurry, 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 opens her eyes. Everything is so crystal clear in 4K definition. She can even see the dust particles. And when I say dust, it's not like, oh my gosh, this room is so dusty. Ugh. She can see the shape, the shine of the dust particles, and it's beautiful. Edward is holding Bella's hand, and for the first time, he's not cold to her. Bella responded very differently to his touch. In fact, she does a bit of parkour, and she parkours away from him in a crouch position against the opposite wall. Our dear old Eddie boy is looking very, very anxious right now. The Cullens are here, as I said, besides Rosalie. The Cullens are here by the door, but they have Emmett and Jasper at the front in case, you know, Bella loses her mind. Alice is there. She's not looking worried. In fact, she is showing her pearly whites off, just smiling so wide at Bella. And if you guys didn't think it was possible, Edward looks even more beautiful and stunning now to Bella. He is a vision. He is beauty. He is grace. He is Mr. United States. Edward starts to move very, very slowly towards her, and he's like, you're good, you're doing great, you're good. But all these questions are just rushing through Bella's head. She's like, where's Renesmee? Where's Renesmee? Why is Jacob still here? Why didn't Jacob leave or go home? He can't stand vampires. Are we safe? Are the werewolves still gonna be coming? What about my dad? What about Charlie? Edward reaches out and he touches her cheek, and she still gets that little jolt of electricity when he touches her. And Bella was assuming that feeling would go away once she turned into a vampire, but that electricity between them is still there. She ends up hugging Edward, and she's so strong that he's like, you're gonna need to be careful. You're gonna need to be the one to be careful with me now, because you're a whole lot stronger than me currently. Which is a scene in the movie, and I think the movie did this part very, very well. Just saying, as a little commentator, I really like the beginning of this movie. Carlisle starts making his way towards Bella, and Bella compares him to the sun. And Bella is thinking like, whoa, this is a lot, but also I kind of still feel like me. And every single person in that room is mesmerized by Bella, because Bella is so in control of herself right now. She is not acting like any of the newborns that Jasper has ever seen, or any of the newborns they experienced in Eclipse. Carlisle, being our man of science, is looking at Bella and saying, tell me everything. I need you to tell me everything you experienced. But then Carlisle says, wait, you must be so hungry right now. And Bella thinks, honestly, I really wasn't that hungry until you mentioned it, but now I'm hungry. Which is another point further showing that Bella is different than any other newborn they have experienced before, because blood is what controls newborns. The thought of blood, as we've seen in the Bree Tanner novella, that is their driving force. And the fact that Bella wasn't even thinking of it until Carlisle said something is crazy. Bella and Edward are about to go hunt, but Bella says, hold up. I want to see my kid. Where's my kid? I haven't seen Renesmee yet. Edward is very hesitant with Bella. He says, I need you to remember that Renesmee is not a full vampire. She is half human. So she has blood pumping through her veins. It could be very dangerous for you to be around her right now. And he tells her that Rose is currently with the baby, as is Jacob. Sweet little Alice is no longer able to hold her excitement. She rushes, she grabs a mirror, and she's like, Bella, look at yourself. And Bella is like, oh my goodness, who is she? Who is she? We'll say that Bella's eyes are currently tripping her out right now, and Edward tells her they will fade as soon as we get you some food. And Jasper can feel Bella's anxiety, which in turn makes him anxious, because he's like, oh no, a newborn with anxiety, I'm gonna step forward. And Bella sees this and she's like, no, like, Jasper, I'm fine, don't worry. I'm okay, I'm in control. Edward then answers a question that he heard from Jasper's mind of, I don't know how she's doing it either. I don't know how she's so in control right now. Jasper is one anxious boy right now. So anxious because he has the most experience with newborns. He knows how newborns think and act and what they're gonna do next, but Bella is very unpredictable right now because she's acting like a seasoned vampire. And Edward says, you know what, let's go hunt right now. Get you something in your system so that maybe Jasper can chill out. Edward decides to have Bella jump out the window with him for them to go hunting. And Bella's like, oh, like, this is so dramatic. Could we not have just used the front door? The reason for this is because the baby is on that first floor and they don't want Bella to get that close to it at this moment in time. Which really bums Bella out because she's thinking, I guess I'm really the monster right now. I can't even see my baby. Here's the kicker of a line that just really gets me. Bella looks at Edward and she says, is Renesmee okay with Jacob? He really doesn't like her. Edward very stoically says, yep, I know exactly what he's thinking. Alice is the one who picked out Bella's outfit, and she put Bella in a light blue, very form-fitting dress. Like, Bella looks like she's about to go to a cocktail party or like a club, not hunting. She's also in some stilettos. Like, you can tell Alice took the wheel for this fashion choice. Bella successfully makes it out the window. She doesn't fall. She's no longer a clumsy girl. Once she makes it to the ground, she actually grabs her heels and she chucks them into the window. Alice says, well, I guess becoming a vampire has not changed her sense of style as much as it changed her balance. Bella and Edward are making their way through the woods. Bella is so strong right now that it's not a struggle to keep up with Edward. The goal of this hunting trip is elk. by the way. Whenever they're in a good spot, he has Bella close her eyes and just kind of pay attention to her sense of hearing and smell. She senses that there are 3 elk, and Edward says, so close, so close, so close. There's actually 5 elk, but good job. Time passes a bit, and all of a sudden, this delicious scent is filling Bella's nose, and she is aware that this can only be the smell of a human. Edward also smells this, obviously, and he raises his arms to try and restrain her, and Bella realizes that she was about to attack Edward to be able to get to this human. And that thought freaks her out. She can barely find the words to say, "Get me out of here," but as soon as she does, she sprints in the opposite direction. Once they're far enough away, Edward says, "How on earth did you do that?" AKA, how on earth did you not just go and attack that man? And instead of answering his question, Bella just starts apologizing, saying, "I am so sorry, I almost attacked you. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I will never do that again." And Edward says, "Well, slow your roll, Bella. It's okay. It was just an instinct. Like, that is what you would do in that kind of situation. You didn't do anything wrong." We also kind of go back to the "you're an old soul, Bella" mentality, because Edward tells her that she's not acting like a newborn. In fact, she's acting like someone who's been a vampire for many, many, many years. All Edward wants to do right now is go into her mind, and he can't. He still can't. Bella is just so happy that she's still affected by his touch, because her main concern right before their wedding was that she would turn and she would no longer want her husband. She would just want blood. But clearly that has been thrown out the window. Bella says, "Well, you know what, maybe we should go get me something to eat." They come across a mountain lion. She successfully gets the lion. She's done eating, and Edward says, "I just want you to know that I've never felt more anxious in my life than watching you do that. I still have that urge to come and save you and rescue you from everything, but you're completely fine now." Here's a fun little callback that I completely loved when I was rereading this scene. Her first prey as a vampire was a mountain lion, and if we go all the way back to that first book, he tells Bella his favorite thing to hunt are mountain lions. So I just love that her first thing that she got was his favorite thing. Edward has a crazy flirting moment with Bella right now, by the way. And he's like, "If the smell isn't really what you're after, we can always go back to those men we found back there." To be honest, Bella, I don't think those men would mind being unalived if it was you doing it. In fact, they'd probably already think that they were dead and that they'd gone to heaven as soon as they saw you. Bella is somewhat full. She's like, "I want to go see Renesmee." And before they officially head back to the Cullen house, they do have a little moment alone together. Except this moment alone together is not like when she was human. She like literally tackles him to the ground. And as soon as that happens, she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And he just says with a big old smile on his face, "Never better. Now is the time to make our way back to the house to see Renesmee." Edward tells Bella Renesmee is nothing like you've ever seen before, and this actually makes Bella a little jealous because everyone has seen her baby except for her. What we know about Renesmee so far, she is warm-blooded. She has a heartbeat. She eats human or vampire food. She prefers vampire food, but Edward says who wouldn't at this point, because she is eating some nasty baby formula. Renesmee is very smart and she can communicate. Yes, guys, I said communicate. She's 2 days old. She's communicating already. We will circle back to this moment. Bella once again asks why Jacob sticks around and is hanging out with her baby, because he literally couldn't stand her. He did not want Bella to even have Renesmee, so she doesn't understand. In fact, Bella asks why on earth would Jacob be putting himself through all this suffering just to be around the baby? And Edward says, "Oh, I actually don't think Jacob's suffering at all. I don't think being around Renesmee is making him suffer, but I can change that if you want. I can definitely be persuaded to change that." Bella tries to argue with him like, "I thought we were past this. Like, can't you just stop fighting with him?" And Edward's like, "Just you wait. Just you wait, because I bet you're going to change your tune very, very soon. And I would tell you right now, but I promised him I would let him explain it. So let's go back to the house." Bella and Edward actually race each other back to the house, and she beats him there. And outside is Jacob, waiting in the driveway for them to return. And Jacob explains to them that he thinks that it would be best if they see how Bella reacts to Jacob first before they go in and see the baby. And Edward very, very tensely is like, "Well, that's on you." And Bella is just thinking to herself, Edward, could you please show some hospitality? He has done so much for us. I don't get why you cannot just be his friend. I don't get it. It's not that hard. Jacob smiles at Bella and he's like, wow, Bells, you are looking like a freak show right now. And Edward gets so mad at this that he starts to growl at Jacob, and Bella's like, well, he's not wrong. I am looking a little different. Jacob shrugs and says, I'll get used to it soon. He then looks at Edward and he says, thank you so much for keeping your promise. I wasn't sure if you would be able to. Bella's looking between the two of them like, what the heck is going on? Jacob senses this and he goes, just wait. Let's do our little experiment out here. See how you handle me. And then I promise I will explain everything. Jacob then tells Bella, come in close. She does. She sniffs him and she's like, you know what, Jake? They were not kidding. You really do stink. This makes Edward laugh, Seth laugh, who is somewhere in the woods, and it also makes Emmett laugh, who is inside the house. Bella then looks at Jacob and she says, cool, great, I passed. Can you please explain to me what on earth is going on? Jacob shrugs his shoulders and he's like, it's not a big deal. I promise you, it's not a big deal. And this makes Edward laugh out loud once again. Bella at this point now realizes that Renesmee is literally on the other side of the wall from her, and so she's getting antsy and she is ready to go in and meet her baby. Edward consents this and he says, she's ready, we're gonna go inside, I'm gonna be there, and Emma and Jasper are gonna be there too. It's gonna be completely fine. But you know, funny thing is Jacob doesn't move. He doesn't. He does not let Bella get past him. Jacob looks at Edward and he goes, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure about this bloodsucker? Because I don't think we should risk it. Edward very firmly says, she passed your test. Now move aside and let us see our daughter. Jacob quickly turns around and sprints into the house ahead of them, with Edward and Bella following not as quickly behind. All of the Cullens are there. Rosalie is further back than everyone else, and that is exactly where Jacob flocks to when he gets in the room. And that is because Rosalie is holding Renesmee. But what's so crazy is Renesmee should only be a couple of days old, and she's not looking like a newborn right now. She's looking a little older than that, and that's very bizarre to Bella. She doesn't understand why. In fact, I think it's time to add the baby to the board, don't you think? She will be changing her shape very, very soon, and we don't have creepy CGI yet. I'm gonna put her right here. Bella takes a step closer to her baby, and Emma and Jasper are immediately in front of her, blocking her, and Edward is holding her arms down. And here's what's going on in the rest of the room. Carlisle and Esme are behind the two boys, and then Jacob is by Rosalie in a very protective stance. But then we have Alice, who is just chilling, and she's like, guys, can you just relax? She literally hasn't done anything wrong. Edward then agrees with Alice, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, Bella did great hunting. I think this is going to be fine. Edward then explains that they ran into a human while they were hunting, and all the Cullens are gasping. And they're like, Edward, how could you be so irresponsible and let her near a human? I thought you would take her where there would be no humans to be found. Because they're all assuming that Bella unalived this human, because no newborn should be able to have the control to get away from a human. And everyone in the room is shook over this, shook to their core. In fact, they're surprised that Edward didn't even get hurt in the process. Because again, remember, Bella did kind of start to attack Edward, and then she was like, what am I doing? That's Edward, that's the love of my life. And she skedaddled out of there. And Emmett speaks up and he's like, wait, that's not fair. That's literally not fair. I would have paid good money to see a fight between you and Edward. No one can ever beat Edward since he has his gifted ability to read everyone's mind. He is always at an unfair advantage. And Bella, you really could have beat him. I would have paid good money to see that. And even though Emmett made a lighthearted joke and all the Cullens are like, oh my goodness, Bella, that's crazy that you were able to withstand the human, Jasper's not buying it. Jasper is standing there stoic and still like a statue, because it goes against everything he's ever known about newborns, everything he was taught. And so he's so confused. Renesmee then makes a crying sound and everyone swarms the baby except Bella. And Rosalie's like, she's literally fine. All she wants is her mom right now. And I know I keep doing a lot of interruptions right now, but I feel like I need a lot of commentator notes, because the first person Rose reassures about the baby is Jacob. And Bella is still standing there thinking, why are we reassuring Jacob? Why is Rosalie the one reassuring Jacob? Because they cannot stand each other. What on earth changed? Renesmee goes to Jacob, that is who the baby is handed to, and Renesmee puts her hand to his cheek. Jacob in this moment in time is so nervous that he is shaking as Bella is getting closer and closer, and he doesn't fully let Bella hold the baby. Like, Bella kind of has a handle on it, but also he's still cradling it, not wanting to let Renesmee go. And when Renesmee can finally touch Bella's face, Bella gets this crazy and alarming image in her mind. This image is the only memory Renesmee has of Bella, which was the terrifying birth. Now, I have been told in Forever Dawn you actually get some of the birth from Renesmee's POV. I'm assuming it would be in one of these like memories that we're seeing right now, but we don't get an in-depth glimpse of the image. We just know what she's talking about. But apparently in Forever Dawn, you see it. The fact that Renesmee can show Bella this memory means that Renesmee is also gifted, but she is gifted in the exact opposite way of her dad, because her dad can see and hear everybody's thoughts, whereas Renesmee can show people her thoughts and her memories. So it is literally the opposite of Edward's, which is so interesting. So very interesting. Jacob's still standing there so stressed, and he's like, you know what? I think that's enough for today. We don't really want to push the limit. I think we've done enough. And this ticks Bella off, and she looks at him and she's like, what is wrong with you? Truly, what is wrong with you? Edward, who is reading Jacob's mind, says, I get it. I understand. But trust me, I will throw you out of the house right now, Jacob. I will. Rose then pipes in and says, I'll help. Hearing this, Bella is looking at Jacob, looking at her daughter, and she compares the way he's looking at her to a man seeing the sun for the first time. And it immediately clicks in Bella's mind why Jacob is acting this way. Jasper is suddenly very, very on edge because he can feel Bella's emotions. Edward is now reaching to hold Bella's arms. Jacob takes the baby away, and Bella says, no, 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 Rose, get my baby. Rose, get my baby and hold my baby right now. I need to talk to Jacob. Jacob's like, you know I can't control this. This isn't my fault. And Bella's ignoring this, and she goes, my baby, with my baby? All of us are now outside, by the way. We are no longer in the house with the baby. We are now outside. Bella continues on and she goes, I've only held my baby once. And now you're over here marking your territory. She's mine, not yours, mine. To which Jacob responds in the most unhinged manner saying, I can share. Hello? And Bella is getting progressively more and more angry, rightfully so, and she just keeps saying, you imprinted on my baby. Like, you literally imprinted on my newborn child. Leah and Seth are outside, and they are getting closer and closer to Jacob because they see that their alpha might be in trouble. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, one would assume that Jacob would have been more prepared for this situation. He had a couple of days to rehearse this speech, this scenario. But no, he didn't. And instead he just says, you told me this. We're family now. This is exactly what you wanted. And Bella, who is screaming, now says, so you interpreted that as me saying I wanted you as my son-in-law? That's how you interpreted me saying that we're family forever? That you're going to be my son-in-law? Emmett is doing what I would be doing in this situation. He is cackling up a storm watching this go down. And Jacob says, well, no, that's not how I interpreted it. She's a baby, for crying out loud, Bella. And Bella just screams, that's what I'm talking about. She is a baby, and you imprinted on her. And Jacob says, I don't think of Renesmee romantically. Do you really think Edward would let me continue breathing if I did? Edward is just staring at Bella, so proud and so amazed at her. And Carlisle is too, because she's not fighting. She's not attacking. She's not doing what normal newborns would do. She is so controlled right now. Bella says, well, I don't care. You're no longer seeing her. From this moment forward, you are no longer going to be around my daughter. Jacob shakes his head and he's like, no, not possible. I'm not going to be able to stay away from her, and you know it. You know the last couple of days when you were pregnant, all you wanted to do was be around me. That wasn't you. That was her. Bella tells Jacob to run, and he just responds with, Nessie likes me too. And everyone buckle up, because this is the best line in the whole saga. The whole saga, dare I say. Bella is seething right now, and she says, you nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster? And she lunges for him. But alas, guys, Jacob is not the one who gets hit during this. It's actually Seth. Seth takes the brunt of the injury, and Seth honestly isn't mad at all. He's like, Bella, you're completely fine. I heal fast, no big deal, and you didn't even bite me. We're fine. Carlo, who is the one taking care of Seth right now, tells Seth that he will heal in a couple of hours and he will be perfectly fine. Just like Jacob, Seth can fall asleep anywhere, so that is exactly what Seth does. All right, while we're taking a nap, I feel like it's a really good time to get caught up on the Wolfie situation, so let me give you the rundown. The feud with Sam and his pack is no more. There's no more Wolfie danger. And this is because the #1 wolf law is no wolf can hurt someone that another wolf has imprinted on. And since Jacob imprinted on Renesmee, the pack can no longer attack. If you at home are thinking to yourself, well, that's cool that they can't attack over Renesmee, but can't they attack over Bella since, you know, they broke the treaty? Please remember that Edward asked Jacob's permission before turning Bella. He covered all of his bases, so they can't be mad over that either. Another quick little tidbit that might come up later is Sam and Jacob can still communicate with one another. They are not in the same pack. Remember, they are alphas of 2 different packs now, but since they are alphas, they are able to communicate, but it's just talking. So it's not like being a member of the pack still. They cannot hear everyone's thoughts and everything that's running through your mind. They can only hear when the person addresses them in a conversation of sorts. So pure communication is the only thing that can happen between Jacob and Sam. And the way they figured this out is that Jacob went to Sam to explain that he imprinted on Renesmee. Now, this is different from the movie, because in the movie, the wolves were already outside the Cullen house once Renesmee was born to attack. Whereas here, I don't even know if they knew she was born, to be honest. I just know that Jacob went to them. Once all of that was resolved between Sam and Jacob, Sam went with Jacob to Carlisle to renegotiate the terms of their treaty. So the treaty is still in effect, and all is well, all is peaceful. A big thing that's on Bella's mind right now is Charlie. Charlie is still calling the Cullen household daily. Daily, this man is calling. Where's Renee? I don't know. She's not calling that often. But Charlie is, and it is making Bella so sad because she doesn't know what to do over this situation. Jasper can feel Bella's inner turmoil, and he just assumes it's over the Loch Ness Monster situation. And Bella's like, no, like, it's about Charlie. We're gonna have to leave soon, aren't we? Jasper just replies with, yeah, we are. And this makes Bella think about Sam, about Quill, about Jared. Have any of them ever been apart from the person they imprinted on for a day? Less than a day? They're always around that person. How would this affect Jacob if Jacob can't be around Renesmee because we're gone? In Forever Dawn, Jacob is not there when Renesmee is born, so he does not imprint on Renesmee until 3 weeks after the birth. Whereas in Breaking Dawn, he imprints immediately, as we've already seen. It is now 6 o'clock. Bella learns that they measure Renesmee 4 times a day, and 6 o'clock is one of those times. And that is because Renesmee is growing at a rapid pace. Not even me being dramatic, it has been about 1 hour and she has already changed a little bit. Her hair is a bit longer, her face is more oval-like, small little changes that honestly only a vampire would be able to see. But that was only from an hour. Bella is even more stressed out right now because she's like, if my baby is growing that fast and it's only been a couple of days, how much time am I even gonna have with Renesmee? Jacob is still here and he is looking just as pained as Bella, but as soon as it is announced that Renesmee has only grown 2 inches, Jacob goes, okay, beautiful, it is slowing down. This is great. This irks Bella because Jacob is acting more like a parent than Bella and Edward, and she's like, I should be the one reacting this way. I should be the one asking questions. And yet here's Jacob. The funny thing to me though is Renesmee is the exact same as Bella right now. Renesmee is also irked that Bella is not the main one taking charge in this situation, and it's not even Bella's fault because they're really not letting her. But Renesmee is equally irritated because all she wants is her mom. Rosalie, being our misunderstood queen, immediately tells the room, guys, the reason Renesmee is being so fussy right now isn't because she's hungry, isn't because she's sleepy, it's because she wants to be with Bella. And so Rosalie takes the matter into her own hands. She gets Renesmee and she hands Renesmee to Bella. I would like to add that before Rosalie hands Renesmee off to Bella, she does ask Bella, how are your emotions right now? So she isn't just like willy-nilly handing Renesmee over. She does check to make sure that Bella is going to be okay holding the baby. Jasper's a little anxious in this moment. Edward is standing nearby. Jacob does not want to let go of the baby, but he does. And now we have another Renesmee Bella face touching moment. And this moment is Renesmee remembering the fight that just happened outside, except It's with anxiety and a bit of fear towards Bella reacting to Jacob because she doesn't want Jacob to get hurt. And this is where Bella realizes that, oh, like this is not one-sided. Renesmee is also very attached to Jacob. Honestly, Renesmee is doing a bit of a recap for Bella, and all of a sudden Bella comes across this memory of this cup being handed to her, and there's this smell that's happening in this cup. And then all of a sudden, before Bella can even register what's happening, Renesmee is yanked away from her. Her arms are being pinned down by Edward and Jasper, and Bella's like, what did I do? Why did you take her away from me? What did I even do? I don't even think I did anything. And Edward, a bit shook in this situation, is like, that's actually totally on me. I overreacted. I saw that she was showing you the memory of when you were pregnant and you were having to drink blood to survive. And I figured your vampire instincts would kick in, but you didn't even bat an eye. Carlisle thinks that Bella's extreme control might just be a gift. He has a friend that's in the Irish coven. Her name is Siobhan. And Siobhan is someone who can will her goals into existence, which kind of comes off as having a lot of control. Now we will come back to this Irish coven, so let's put a little pin in it. Time has passed. Alice comes in the room. She's all excited. She looks at Bella and she's like, happy birthday! And that means today is September 13th, and today is Bella's human 19th birthday. Which Bella is like, no. I'm 18 and I'm 18 forever. We've already discussed this. I don't age anymore. We're not having it be a 19th birthday. And Alice is like, pish posh, whatever, we're still celebrating your birthday. And no matter what, this is going to be a million times better than the last birthday party because we don't have to worry about any extreme paper cuts going down. Alice has Bella and Edward follow her outside. They're going through the woods and we see that their present is a cottage. Alice actually throws in a couple of innuendos in her excuse as she starts to leave, and Bella's like, wow, this is just so nice of your family. We should go thank them. And Edward says, hold up. Hold up. She just left to give us some alone time in our cottage. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Edward actually picks her up so that they can walk in through the threshold together because thresholds are his thing, apparently. Guys, this cottage is stunning. It is giving fairy tale, and it further proves Bella's theory that Edward has never belonged to a gruesome, scary, gory world. He has always belonged in a fairy tale. And now they have a house to show it. This cottage has actually been in the works for a while, and we need to give a big old shout out to Esme for making sure they had a guest room because they were designing and building this house before they even knew Renesmee was going to be a thing. So thankfully, there is a room for Renesmee. Edward starts to call Renesmee Nessie, and he backs up and he's like, no, I am so sorry. It's a little hard for me to call her Renesmee because everyone refers to her as Nessie in their mind. But she's Renesmee, you're right, Bella. Beautiful name, stunning, gorgeous, immaculate, we love. Bella then stops her little tour. She looks at Edward and she's like, we are going to tell Alice that the first thing I did was go check out that closet. And that's what we're going to do. Capiche? Capiche. We now have a fade to black moment, everyone. It's more intense than the honeymoon, but also, duh, she's no longer a fragile human. Afterwards, Bella asks Edward if there's anything he misses about her being human. And Edward literally just laughs and he says, I have everything I could ever ask for. And y'all, it's another fade to black moment right off the bat. Bella looks at her and she says, how do vampires do anything else other than this? I don't understand. I don't. And Edward says that every vampire is different. And he talks about Rosalie and Emmett and how for like the first 10 years of Rosalie and Emmett's relationship, nobody wanted to be in like within 5 miles of the two of them. Like it got to the point where Carlisle essentially kicked them out to their own house because he couldn't even take it. It is now about 7 in the morning and it is time for them to go get Renesmee from the main house. Bella needs to change her clothes, so she does go into the closet that Alice set up for her. And let me just tell you, it is all full of clothes that Alice would wear, not Bella. And so Edward's like, you know what, like give me a second, I'll try and find you something. And apparently denim has its own smell. Bella and Edward get to the main house and they see that Emmett and Rosalie are playing with Renesmee, and the rest of the family are there just watching Renesmee like in wonder, obsessed with the girl. And Renesmee has changed a little bit more, but the main thing is just her hair is getting longer. It's not as much of a change as Bella thought it was going to be, which makes Bella so happy and kind of gives her a little bit of relief. Not a lot, but a little bit. And apparently Renesmee has been fussy all morning because all she's wanted is Bella. But the family didn't want to go to the cottage and disturb them because they were a little worried they were gonna walk into something they didn't want to walk in on. And Emmett makes a joke like, oh, is the cottage still standing? I didn't know if the cottage would still be standing when the two of you were done. Moving forward, Bella notices that Jacob's not here, which is really confusing since he imprinted on their daughter. Wouldn't he want to be around her 24/7? Yes, 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 but he had to actually go do something. And he was with Renesmee before he automatically jumped up and just left out of nowhere. And nobody understands why, but they also didn't question it. And Rosalie was kind of thankful he was gone. She was like, finally, we can try and get this smell out of our house. The Cullens are just chilling in the living room. And Emmett's like, you know what, guys? I think we should go to New Hampshire next. Bella is so in control. I feel like she'd be able to actually go to college earlier than we all thought. I feel like New Hampshire's the move, guys. And all of a sudden, Edward is growling and Alice is like, what is that dog doing right now? He's messing up my vision. And guys, Jacob actually went to go talk to Charlie. And so Charlie is coming to the house right now, just days after Bella has turned into a vampire. Bella is freaking out because she's afraid for Charlie's life now that he knows that vampires exist. But also on the selfish side, Bella's kind of excited that she gets to see her dad. Let's call a spade a spade. Jacob has just walked into the Cullen house and Bella automatically asks to hold Renesmee because she's like, you know what, if I'm not holding my baby right now, I will hurt him. I need to hold my child or he will be in a cast. And Jacob's like, I don't know what any of you guys are worrying about. Bella's control is insane. If she has this gift of control, she can handle being around Charlie. He'll be perfectly fine. Edward is pissed right now and he gets up in Jacob's face and he's like, did you not even consider Bella in this equation? Did you not consider how much this is going to hurt Bella, not just emotionally, but physically? Her throat is gonna feel like someone has stuck a hot iron down it. Jacob's standing there shell-shocked saying, I didn't know I didn't know that she would actually be in pain. I thought this was a good thing. To which Edward doesn't miss a beat and he says, you didn't even think to ask. You just acted on your own. Jacob tells all of them to relax and calm down because he didn't tell Charlie anything about them. He said that he is going to let Charlie make his own assumptions. So he didn't break any vampire rules. Wondering what Jacob did, he turned into a wolf in front of Charlie in the movie. Snaps to it in the movie because it was just so well done and I loved that scene. Basically the only thing he told Charlie is that Bella was sick and now she is better and now she is favoring Esme more than Renee. And he also added, don't worry, she's not a wolf. She wishes she was as cool as I am. And Charlie literally cut off Jacob like, no. I don't need to know anything. No, I will make up my own assumptions. That's fine. Just need be. Tell me what I need in the moment and that's it. I don't want to know anything else. The final thing that Jacob told Charlie is that Edward and Bella essentially adopted an orphan, which is who Renesmee would be. Because obviously it would be really hard for Charlie to understand that Bella had a whole baby who looks way older than she should be anywho in like the span of 2 months, give or take. 3 months? I believe they got married in June. I think we're now in September. Math, not my forte. Obviously, we're a reading channel, but that's not enough time for a baby. That ain't 9 months. Jacob apologizes to Bella, saying, I didn't realize it was going to hurt you. I'm so sorry. Can I hold Renesmee now? Bella shakes her head, saying, no, you can't. I am holding her so I don't hurt you. You cannot hold her. But fortunately for Jacob, Alice intervenes and says, no, hand the baby to Jacob. Jacob, go in the corner. We have work to do. Charlie's on his way. Edward then looks at Bella and says, everything is going to be fine. You need to trust me on this because if I didn't think you could handle this, we would have left by now. And Edward knows that if she can do this, she will be so much happier in the long run. Edward gives her some contacts that he had made right before their honeymoon, so that way her eyes are not as terrifying. The Cullens are essentially giving Bella the spark notes on how to be a human. You need to blink 3 times in a minute, you need to stretch, scratch, move around, do something. Once they've gone through everything, Bella is like, okay, awesome, I got it, I can do that, can I have my kid back now? Alice tries to argue, saying like, well, I don't actually think that that's a good idea, nor is it safe because I won't be able to see anything. And Bella's like, I don't care, I'm gonna be fine, please hand me my child. Edward then gets close to Renesmee and he says, no, you cannot do to Charlie what you do to us. You are so special and so wonderful, but he cannot see that right now, okay? Edward confirms to the rest of the group that she fully understands what Edward is saying. They then all try to get Jacob to leave and Jacob's like, I'm not leaving. I have already covered the bases with Charlie. I'm here for moral support at this moment in time. I'm here for Charlie. And to put things into perspective, the only thing that is keeping Bella from basically falling off the ledge right now and going into a complete panic attack is Renesmee's heartbeat. Charlie is now here. He comes into the house and the first thing he asks is Bella okay? He then explains how Jacob told him this was the only way to keep Bella alive. Bring Charlie into the house. Charlie sees Bella. Edward comes in with Renesmee and he's like, this is Renesmee. Renesmee is my niece. As you know, Carlisle adopted me. I had a brother. We were separated through adoption and Him and his wife sadly passed away and we were left with their daughter and we want to raise her. Let me tell you something, Edward is quick on his feet. That was a real quick explanation. Charlie's like, oh yeah, I've heard of her, but Jacob said her name was Nessie? And Bella's like, no, actually nobody calls her Nessie. Her name is Renesmee. Renesmee. Isn't it beautiful? Not the Loch Ness Monster. Charlie is standing there. You can tell he's a little overwhelmed. And then all of a sudden we hear Emmett screaming at the TV like, go Gators, yes! And Charlie walks over, he looks at the TV screen and he goes, oh, the Gators are winning. And he just plops down in a chair and stays at the Cullen house. Charlie and Bella decide that it's best if Renee just doesn't know. Which is crazy. Charlie is about to leave the Cullen house. He looks at Bella and he goes, Jacob said him telling me this would make you guys not have to leave anymore. Isn't that right? You can now stay in Forks. Bella looks at her dad and says, it's actually a bit more complicated than that, but I promise I will try to visit. Charlie notes before he leaves that Renesmee actually looks a lot like Bella. And he asks to hold Renesmee and he is mesmerized by her and he says, okay, I will see you tomorrow, Nessie. Bella cuts in like, it's Renesmee. Not Nessie. Renesmee, but we'll see you tomorrow. We also officially learn that Renesmee's middle name is Carly. She tells Charlie this because Carly is from Charlie in Carlisle. Now, I don't know why she could have been Carly Renesmee, but that's all right. That's okay. Can't change it now. But man, we wouldn't have to worry about the Loch Ness Monster allegations had she just been named Carly. Just saying. Charlie finally leaves. All the Cullens are like, holy cow, Bella, that was beyond impressive. You didn't waver at all. You were completely fine. Emmett is picking on Bella a little bit, so they decide to have a competition with a deal attached to it. And the deal is, if Bella wins, Emmett can no longer joke about her sex life, and that includes some innuendos. And Emmett agrees to this, saying, okay, fine, but if I win, the jokes are getting worse. Their competition is an arm wrestle, and what do you know? Bella is the one that wins, and Emmett is in a tizzy. He is like, rematch. We are going to do a rematch right here, right now. And Bella is just laughing, thinking to herself, man, I really was made to be a vampire. Sue, Clearwater, and Charlie have been hanging out a lot recently, and so Sue actually goes with Charlie to the Cullen house whenever he goes to see Bella and Renesmee. Leah is still rather uncomfortable with the whole vampire situation, but since Jacob is still here and her and Jacob are friends, Leah's not going anywhere. In fact, Leah is the beta to Jacob's alpha, officially. Renesmee speaks her first word and it's mama. And this should be exciting, but this is now terrifying that she is now able to verbally communicate. 3 weeks later, Renesmee is now walking. Also, Renesmee is now 3 months old. It is December. She was born September 11th, by the way. I don't even know if I added that, and I believe it's the beginning of December because we're not quite to Christmas yet. But there is snow on the ground. Renesmee also hates picture books, and so Bella has been reading her poetry every single night. In fact, she's reading her Tennyson. The Cullens' current guess for Renesmee is that by the time Renesmee is 4, she will be a full adult. And then by the time she's 15, she will be very elderly. That gives them about 15 to 17 years of Renesmee. Carlisle and Edward have been talking through options about Renesmee, but they make sure not to mention these options around Jacob. And the reason for this is the main option / the only option they really have for Renesmee is something that Jacob would never agree to or want. We've also gotten to the point where Bella knows she's going to have to see the Volturi soon. The Volturi are aware that a wedding happened, but they still need to see Bella with their own eyes. And since they now have Renesmee, they don't need the Volturi coming to them and assuming that Renesmee's an immortal child when obviously she's not. So the safest thing would be for her to go to Italy. Now, Edward is not for this plan. Edward wants to go with her, but she's scared that if Arrow goes into Edward's mind, they will see Renesmee. So Bella's really fighting for her to go by herself. Oh, I forgot to add, the Volturi sent her a wedding gift, by the way. They sent her this gorgeous jewelry box with the crown jewels from like the 13th century, by the way. And Arrow put this stunning, kind of gaudy golden chain necklace in the jewelry box. And when I say gaudy, I mean it is a very thick golden chain with a golf ball sized diamond on it. Which, if you know Bella, that is not Bella's style. Alice is looking into the future and she's getting more and more frustrated because there are so many things that are not making sense to her. She's seeing a snowstorm, the stock market crashing, Renee's calling. Irina's coming into town? Like, none of this is clicking in her mind. Like, why are you showing me this? Later, Jacob, Renesmee, and Bella are out hunting. And the reason Jacob was invited on this little excursion is because Renesmee really doesn't like hunting or even eating animals in general. And so Jacob has found a way to make it almost like a game or a competition to where Nessie will eat. Jacob is broaching the subject of him going with the Cullens to Bella, and Bella's like, no, you have school, you have a family, you have a pack. You can't just up and leave with us. And Jacob says, I can come back when things are not as rocky. In the woods, Bella sees something, and so she goes a little further, leaving Jacob and Renesmee not too far behind, but also not next to her. And she sees a figure that is zooming, and she knows that it's a vampire. And once Bella sees the blonde hair, Bella knows that this is Irina. We then hear Renesmee make a noise in the distance, and Irina's face immediately shoots in that direction. And she sees Renesmee. She sees Jacob. Not only does she see Jacob, she doesn't see Jacob in human form, she sees Jacob in wolf form. Which, in general, to vampires, this would be jarring because that is supposed to be their mortal enemy. But this is even more jarring to Irina because he is literally one of the members of the pack that eliminated Laurent, who she essentially had as her mate. So when Irina sees this, she growls and she disappears deeper into the woods. Bella then sprints to Jacob and Renesmee and she's like, you know what, it's fine. Like, I think I'm overreacting, but also I need to call my husband and we need to try and figure this out and it's gonna be perfectly fine, but I need to make sure I'm not overreacting. When she calls Edward, Edward's like, stay where you are. Carlisle and I are on our way. And once Carlisle and Edward get there, they go searching for Irina and they can't find her. There's not a trace of her. Carlisle even called Irina's sisters, Kate and Tanya, a part of the Denali clan, and they had no clue where Irina was either. Alice would get glimpses of what Irina was up to, but nothing was set in stone, so it wasn't very helpful. Since nothing was set in stone, that basically just means that Irina has not made a decision yet. Days have passed at this point. It's pretty calm. Alice is holding a vase and then all of a sudden she drops it. When this happens, Edward gasps. Alice and Edward both say at the same time, they're coming. They're coming for us. And they mean the Volturi. And they don't just mean like a couple of Volturi guards or like Jane and Felix like they sent for the newborn battle. No, no, no. All of them are coming. Arrow, Marcus, Caius, the wives who never leave the tower, they are all coming for the Cullens. Alice explains that the reason they are coming for the Cullens is because Irina went to the Volturi and told them about an immortal child. Alice also adds it's actually really strange because Irina's not there yet, but she's already made her decision. But it looks like the Volturi are just waiting for her. Like they are waiting for a reason to come here. And that's so weird. Just a little subtle reminder, by the way, the Volturi is not a courtroom. There's not a judge hearing both sides of a case. They are already coming with a decision made. And guys, as you already know, if the Volturi are coming for you, it just means destruction. Emmett is the one who finally speaks up and he says, okay, we're gonna fight. And Jasper shakes his head and is like, no, there's no chance, we won't win. And he says it's not like we can run away from the Volturi because we can't, they have a tracker. Remember Dimitri? We talked about Dimitri all the way back in, I think New Moon is when he was brought up. He is the Volturi tracker and he is incredible at what he does, which means the Cullens will never be able to get away. Esme now hops in and goes, I don't even think we have to fight. We just need to pause them long enough for them to listen. Esme continues saying, that means we need witnesses. We need witnesses to say that Renesmee is not an immortal child. And now the family's essentially going through their phone book of friends being like, okay, we have a clan here, we have a coven here, I know these people, I've met them before, oh my gosh, we have some nomad friends. We can all ask them to come and bear witness to Renesmee so that everyone knows that she is growing, she has a heartbeat, there's blood pumping through her. She's not an immortal child. Alice is not really with everyone right now. She is deep in a vision. And when I say deep in a vision, I mean, Edward can't even keep up with her. He literally is like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, you need to slow down. Like, what is going on? Alice is ignoring that. And she just keeps saying, I can't see, I can't see, I can't see. She pauses and she says, ask Eleazar about the Volturi. But she doesn't explain that. Instead, she just says, Jacob is almost here. If I'm going to try and understand this vision at all, I cannot be around him. My signal will not be good. I'm gonna go try and figure it out. And she yanks Jasper with her and they go out the back door. Jacob is now in the Cullen house and they're trying to fill him in on everything. And he's like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with Renesmee? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And Bella says, nothing is wrong with Renesmee. but it's all over. We are all sentenced to die, which is such a dramatic statement. But like, I feel like I need to add a dun 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 to this moment. Time is passing and they're just frozen. Jacob's asleep, as always, and they're just kind of sitting there, not fully understanding what they need to do. And finally, Rosalie speaks up and she's like, Alice has been gone for a really long time. Their first thought is, oh my God, what if someone came and took Alice? So the family starts racing around outside, following their trail, trying to figure out where Alice is. End up making it to the territory line and they see Sam. Sam explains that Alice and Jasper came here and they asked his permission to cross into their territory to get to the ocean. Sam says that they asked him not to tell Jacob that this was going on, that you guys would come to me and I could give you this note. As Sam is handing them the note, he says that Alice told me that everyone's lives depend on what's in here. No pressure. The note was written on the back of the page that was ripped out of a book from Bella's collection. This one was The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Bella immediately clocks that that one was from her collection, by the way. Immediately clocks it, but she doesn't say anything. Carlisle is the one who reads this note and he tells them that Alice has left and that the note says, don't look for us. I'm sorry to leave without talking to you, but this is the only way. Where it says, we don't know what Alice saw, but she is not a coward. So if this is the only way, we have to believe her. Sam speaks up and goes, you're gonna believe her? She just abandoned her family. We would never do something like that. Edward chimes in saying, well, we have free will. Sam looks at Carlisle and says, Renesmee is now as much as our family as she is yours, so we will stay and fight if need be. It's a new day. Emmett is ready to go and he says, you know what? We are fighting. Alice has told us what to do. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna fight. There's another trail that they smell outside, but this one doesn't involve Jasper, it's just Alice. And so Bella follows this trail with Edward and it leads them back to their cottage. Edward is just like, well, I don't understand. Why would Jasper just wait for Alice to go to our cottage? Why wouldn't Jasper just go with Alice? Bella then remembers that the note Alice wrote came from one of Bella's personal books. So Bella rushes over to the bookcase to pull out a copy of The Merchant of Venice. And here is a tiny, tiny note that says, destroy this on it. Within the note, there is a name and there is an address. Edward does not see what Bella is doing during this time, and Bella realizes, oh my gosh, Alice left this just for me because I am the only one whose mind Edward cannot go into. I'm the only one who's able to lie to Edward, thus being the only one who can kind of get a leg up on Arrow as well. Because if Edward doesn't know any of this, then Arrow won't either. She does tell Edward that Alice used her book to write this note, but she doesn't explain anything else, and she also tosses it in the fireplace. And Edward is like, what are you doing? Not realizing that Alice told Bella to destroy this book. Bella's just like, oh, I just felt like that was fitting. Go back to the Cullen house, and the Cullens are preparing for travel, except Edward and Bella. Witnesses are going to have to come to the Cullen house to meet Renesmee. Someone is going to have to explain to them who Renesmee is, what's happening, how she's not an immortal child. And so Edward and Bella need to stay. I would also like to note, yes, Renesmee is still a baby, but she fully understands what's going on now. Today is the day that the first group of people are coming to Forks, and that is the Denali clan. So let me put their picture up. Bella is trying to be really sneaky right now. Like, she sits down by the computer and it doesn't look like she's really doing anything except like anxiously fiddling her fingers on the keyboard. So she types in the name that was on the note, which is J. Jenks, and she can't find anything. The closest thing she can find is a Jason Jenks, and he is an attorney. She's thinking like, oh, J. Jenks, like that makes sense. It must be Jason. But she looks at the address and the address is not the same. Weird. She also remembers to delete the search history, so even if someone is like, what are you doing? She could still lie. Later, Bella asks Edward if he will teach her how to fight. And Edward's like, oh, no, like that's not necessary, Bella. Like, I won't let anyone hurt you. And Bella responds with, you're really gonna leave me unable to defend myself? To which Edward says, oh, you know what? You actually make a really good point. Yeah, I guess I'll teach you how to fight. Edward explains that Alec and Jane are the two biggest players of the Volturi. And this is because, as we've already seen, Jane can attack you without even coming near you and you're in intense pain. And Alec, on the other hand, is like the antidote to Jane, which is so interesting because Alec will essentially cut off all of your senses. So basically, they both just make you a target to where you cannot defend yourself. Make a mental note of this. I promise you we will come back to this. Here's something really interesting though. Alec is to Jane what Edward is to Arrow. Alec can use his gift on everyone at the same time, whereas Jane can pinpoint one person. Just like how Edward can read anyone's mind and he doesn't have to be touching them. Whereas Arrow can only do one person at a time and he has to make contact with them. Bella finally asks the question we are all thinking. Do we think they can use their gifts on me? We know human Bella Jane never worked. We know Arrow never worked. We don't know about Alec. Short answer, probably not. Long answer, we will get there. Don't you fret. You know I'll cover it. But short answer for now, no, probably not. And this leads Bella down the thought process of, oh my gosh, I can save the day. I can figure out a plan to keep everyone alive because they will not affect me. If I could just distract Alec and Jane, everyone else will live. Edward then tells Bella that he is going to be the one to handle Dimitri. Dimitri is the tracker. The reason he wants to handle Dimitri is because he wants this to be his final gift to Alice. He wants Alice and Jasper to stay free. He knows if they do not get rid of Dimitri, Dimitri will probably go and try and find Alice and Jasper. Bella says, why do we need to ask Laser about the Volturi? And the reason they need to ask him about the Volturi is because he used to be a member of the Volturi. Laser is a very, very gentle person. He's a part of the Denali clan, so that is him right there if you can see. And he is somebody who wasn't always agreeable with Volturi's ways. And in fact, he didn't love what the Volturi did, but he knew that the law needed to be followed. So that is why he stayed with them for so long. Laser eventually found Carmen, and Carmen helped him find out who he wanted to be in this world. And eventually they all met up with the three sisters and they formed the Denali clan. Him and Carmen are very similar. They are both very empathetic and compassionate vampires. Hence why they're part of one of the few covens that are vegetarian. Edward goes as far as saying even if Carmen and Laser would never have met Tanya and her sisters, they still would have eventually found a way to be vegetarian and learn that they could survive without hurting any humans. Also, the pronunciation is coming from YouTube. If I am incorrect, I am so sorry. This is what YouTube has told me. I tried to listen for it in the movie and it did not give me anything to work on. So if that is wrong, I do apologize. The reason he was with the Volturi to begin with is because he had a gift that the Volturi loved. His gift was being able to tell when other people had gifts. He could tell what the gifts were, what gifts they could possess, and it's not just for vampires. He literally could look at a human and he could tell, oh, this human could have this gift if they were turned into a vampire, which was so beneficial for Arrow. His gift was so important in battle because it showed Arrow who needed to be at the front and who was actually going to help the Volturi out and whose power was of any kind of use to them. Back to the story, the Denali clan are on their way. Renesmee asks Edward, Bella, and Jacob, what if they don't like me? And Jacob tries to be the first one to answer, but Bella literally is like, I'm gonna take this one. Bella just says they might not understand you, but we're gonna give them some time too. And remember, Renesmee fully understands what's going on, so Renesmee says, this is all my fault. And Edward, Bella, and Jacob all scream, no, it's not, at the same time. All right, it's now showtime because the Denali clan is at the Cullen house. And when they get to the door, Tanya notices that Edward is acting so weird. And so she's like, can we come in? Where's Carlisle? Carlisle told us to come as soon as possible. What's going on? Edward kind of freaks them out by saying Carlisle isn't here. And Tanya says, okay, well, just explain what you need to explain to us and we promise we won't judge and we will always stand with Carlisle. What is going on? Edward has come to the conclusion that the easiest way to get the Denali clan to understand is to ask them to listen to what they hear in the other room. They hear a werewolf heart, which obviously is Jacob, and then they hear this weird heartbeat that's almost like a hummingbird. And the four of them know it's not human, but they also know it's the closest a human could ever be. And they have no clue what it is. And once that happens, Edward's like, okay, Bella, come on in, please. And as soon as Bella brings Renesmee in there, Tanya jumps all the way back. Laser jumps in front of Carmen in a crouch position, ready to fight. And Jacob is just standing there like, okay, this is a tad dramatic, guys. The poor Denali clan are losing their minds because they would now be an accomplice to an immortal child. So they're like, how could you do this to us? I thought we were family. Now the Volturi comes for you, they're gonna come for us too because we know. Edward says, You can hear her heartbeat. You know it sounds close to being human, yet it's not quite there. I am her father, her legitimate biological father, and Bella is her mother. She gave birth to her while she was still human. Carmen is the one who speaks, and she gets a little closer to Renesmee and she says, "You have your mother's eyes." This is where Renesmee really becomes a superstar because she reaches out and touches Carmen's face, and Carmen now understands everything. Carmen turns to the Denali clan and is like, I believe them, it's true. Elazar's like, oh, okay, my turn, I want to see. And then after him is Tanya, and then Kate, and then all four of them are fully on the Cullen side. They understand it's not an immortal child. This is also when they learn that all of this is Irina's fault. They had no clue that Irina was going to the Volturi to accuse the Cullens of this crime. She just went. And so now they're all shook to their core and kind of embarrassed for what Irina has done to this family. He says, it doesn't make any sense to me why all of the Volturi are coming. The wives never leave the tower. Why are they bringing them here? Especially if they never want the wives to be in danger. This is when Renesmee speaks up and she says, I'm not any danger, I love humans. One by one, the members of the Denali clan agree to witness for the Cullen family. Tanya's wanting to understand everything, so she's like, why is there a werewolf here in general? Jacob decides he needs to be the one to answer, so he says, if the Volturi won't listen to Nessie, the wolves will stop them. Tanya is essentially laughing at him saying, that's not possible, but you do you, I guess. You guys will just fail too. Elazar is now pacing the room saying, this is so crazy. She has a mind reader for a father and a shield for a mother. And Edward goes, hold up, a shield? What do you mean a shield? Please explain, please elaborate. And he says, yes, a shield. She's blocking me right now. I can't even really get any more information out of her currently. And if that's true, I bet you can't even read her mind. And Edward shrugs and says, well, that's nothing new. I couldn't even read her mind when she was human. And he says, wait, you couldn't read her mind when she was human? That means she is strong. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. And I've met a couple of shields and they were never that strong even when they were human. He goes on saying, Arrow sent me around the world looking for someone like her for years, and you just happened to stumble upon her? Bella speaks up and she's like, well, I actually can't block everything. I can only block like Edward and Jane's power, but Alice and Jasper's still affect me. Let me just tell you, when they learned that Arrow's powers didn't even work on her, all of their eyes almost popped out of their head. They were gagged, their jaw was on the floor, and they did not believe that she was that strong. That's insane. They talk about another shield named Renata, and Renata is Arrow's personal bodyguard. Renata can actually project her shield, and that is why she is his bodyguard. So anytime Arrow's having to do anything that could be a little dangerous, Renata is there shielding him so he cannot be affected. And Renata can shield others as well. Not too many, like she might be able to shield Marcus and Caius, but if there's a true issue at hand, Arrow is the #1 priority. But here's the kicker, guys. He has never seen anyone be able to shield Arrow's powers or Jane's. This means that Bella is crazy powerful. Kate looks at Bella and says, can you project? I've been working on it for centuries. Kate's power is causing an electric shock, by the way. So normally it would just be in her hands, but she has now made it to where it can cover her whole body like a taser. And when Kate explains that she's been working for centuries to try and shield, Bella's like, you are going to have to teach me. And my hand is like this because she grabbed onto Kate's arm, and Kate is like, whoa, you really are strong, because you grabbing me like that should have definitely sent you to the ground. This is also the first time Kate's power hasn't worked on someone. Human or not, her power also works on humans. And this is the first time that someone hasn't been affected. I do want to know, because I do think a few of y'all are going to ask, like, how on earth is Kate not able to affect Bella? And the only reasonable explanation I can come up with is that Kate's power would be very similar to Jane's. It is all an illusion. She's not actually inflicting a shock. It is affecting you mentally. So it's almost like a psychic electrical current that's going through your body, even though she's projecting it all over her body like a taser. It's not actually there. It is affecting you up here mentally. I think that's a little bit of a cop-out, but all right, all right. And while we're talking about Bella's shield, I do want to mention that yes, Renesmee's powers work on Bella, even though hers are mental. Now, the explanation for this is that Renesmee really is the opposite of both Edward and Bella. She's the opposite of Edward because Edward can go into people's minds and Renesmee lets people into her mind, and she's the opposite of Bella because Bella keeps people out, but you can't keep Renesmee out. Edward is reading basically everyone in the room's mind, and Edward says that Eleazar is honestly struggling a little bit right now because he had worked for the Volturi for centuries, looking for people, looking for patterns in what they were doing, thinking that they were helping, when in reality, there's a really big chance that everything he did for years of his life was harmful. The pattern that we are talking about is Arrow will wipe out covens except for one or maybe two people, and that is when he will use them as witnesses and ask what they have seen, and he will spare them. But the people that he ends up sparing are those with talents. And a lot of the time when these vampires have been spared, they feel so indebted to Arrow that they join the Volturi. So slowly, Arrow has been gathering more gifted vampires. Edward speaks up, still reading Eleazar's mind, and he says, yeah, they have Chelsea. Chelsea is not in the movie, by the way. Chelsea, who is a member of the Volturi, can influence people's emotional connections with one another. That is an insane talent. This means that she could make vampires feel a bond to the Volturi. It also means that she could make sure that people in the Volturi don't feel like they need to leave, ever. And it works on the flip side because she can break up alliances within other covens. It is insane. And let's just kind of factor this in with Marcus's power, because please remember that Marcus's power is being able to sense connections between people. And so if he knows the connections and which ones can very easily be severed, and then he can relay that to Chelsea, unbeatable, unbeatable. Now this is probably one of the parts where you have a question, and your question might be, well, if they had Chelsea, how on earth was he able to leave the Volturi if he was that special? He essentially says, Chelsea is so strong, but it can't be that strong if I was able to leave, and now that we are all here together, we are able to feel true love bonds because they are vegetarian and they are able to have a little bit more empathy and emotions than those who are not. Having those true love bonds and having a family will make it so Chelsea really cannot break their bond now. It would be a very big struggle for Chelsea to sever the Denali clan and the Cullen clan. Edward says that Arrow has never wanted anything more than Alice, and that has to be why Alice left, so that she could keep her powers and not have to live with them for the rest of the time. And Edward says this is why he thinks that the Volturi were just waiting for Irina to show up. They were waiting for a pretense, a reason to come to the Cullens. And here tires in the driveway, and this is Peter and Charlotte. And Bella and Edward are a little confused at first because no one went to find them because they were Jasper and Alice's friends, and that means that Jasper and Alice are still helping the Cullens and have sent them this way to try and get them to be a witness. We also have met Peter and Charlotte before. They are a part of Jasper's backstory. We learned about them in Eclipse, and they were two of his closest friends before he met Alice. Peter and Charlotte say that they completely trust Alice and Jasper. They don't know where they're headed, but they knew they had to come to the Cullen house to try and be a witness. Carlisle has sent along the Irish coven. Let me put their picture up real quick. The Irish clan is comprised of Siobhan, who we've already talked about earlier in this video. We have Liam, who is Siobhan's mate, and we have Maggie. Maggie is gifted, and she has the coolest gift in my opinion. She can tell when people are lying to her. Literally, as soon as they speak, if it's a lie, she knows. She knows she knows. And since that's Maggie's gift, it didn't take long to convince them to be witnesses because she knew that the Cullens were telling the truth. Carlisle also sent for the Egyptian clan to come to the Cullen house. The Egyptian clan is comprised of 4 members, and this coven's backstory is so interesting to me, and I wish that the movie would have talked about it more, because this coven has the oldest vampire to exist. At least that is what has been theorized. It's between him and the Romanians, but it does seem like he is the oldest one out there. We have Amun, who is potentially the oldest vampire to ever exist. We have his mate, who literally never talks at all and has a lot of jealousy issues with Amun. We have Benjamin, who was played by Rami Malek, and then we have Benjamin's mate, Tia. Let me lay down the lore for you over the Egyptian coven. The Egyptian coven at its peak was the strongest one out there. Eventually the Romanians came and they were the strongest, and then the Volturi came after that. So there were two strong covens around before the Volturi. The Volturi essentially destroyed Amun's coven, and he cannot stand the Volturi, and he's also kept pretty hidden from them, and he has wanted to find people with talent so that maybe one day they could rebel against the Volturi. But almost at every single turn, Arrow had been able to beat him before he would ever find someone with powers. Until Benjamin. Let's talk about it. Benjamin, who, as I said, is not the leader at all. He was turned by Amun, but everyone in this coven revolves around him. And that is because he has such a cool gift. He is like Avatar the Last Airbender up in here. He can control the elements. And the Egyptian coven's goal is to make sure that the Volturi never find Benjamin. So they have no clue that Benjamin even exists or has powers. They want to keep him as hidden as possible because obviously Arrow's going to want him to be in the Volturi. Another very interesting thing is Amun knew when he saw Benjamin as a human that he would have very, very powerful talents as a vampire. And that is why he stole him and created him. Emphasis on stole him, because he really did. So let's talk about Benjamin real quick. When Benjamin was growing up, he was raised by his uncle, and his uncle was a street performer. Benjamin's uncle was actually the one that discovered that Benjamin can control fire. His uncle had another girl in his care, and this girl's name was Tia. Technically, Tia and Benjamin are related, but they are distant cousins. At least that's what the guide says. Anywho, Benjamin and Tia grew up very, very close. He was 15 and she was 12, so they have about a 3-year age gap. And at this age, they decided to run away together. But before they could do that, Amun saw Benjamin at a show, and afterwards, he took Benjamin. And in the process of taking Benjamin, he killed Benjamin's uncle. He stored Benjamin away for 5 years. When I say stored away, I mean stored away. Benjamin was not allowed to leave. It was explained to him that the Volturi could find him, they could use him, and he would not want to be with the Volturi. And Benjamin followed along with this because he loved Amun and considered Amun to be like his father. Now, Amun's maid, on the other hand, not so much. I said she has some jealousy issues, and she hated the bond that the two of them had. They already knew that Benjamin could control fire, and so while they were trying to train his vampire powers, they learned that he could do the other elements. After fire came wind, then earth, then water. When Benjamin was no longer a newborn, the only thing he could think about was Tia. And he was told that he could not go and find Tia. He had to leave his humanly ways behind and in the past. So when Amun went out hunting, Benjamin saw this as his opportunity to go try and find Tia. Meaning Benjamin escaped. Tia was now 17 years old, and she was actually married at this time. Now, this wasn't a love match for Tia. Essentially, their family needed the dowry that came with Tia. Benjamin saw her, he's like, thank goodness I found her, but maybe she's safe, maybe she's happy. When Tia finally sees him, she's so excited, but she immediately notes that he looks different. Tia admits to Benjamin that she doesn't want him to leave her. She wants to go and be with him. And Benjamin knew that he needed to turn Tia before he went back to the coven. Our little leader of the coven was very, very angry at Benjamin. But on the other hand, the fact that the only thing that was holding Benjamin to the human world was Tia, and now she's a vampire with them, was pretty satisfying, and he now knew that Benjamin would not leave. And now that Tia was with them, Amun's mate was even happier because she felt like Benjamin would not be spending all of his time with Amun, especially since it was so clear that Benjamin loved Tia more than Amun. Slightly lowered the jealousy, not fully, but slightly. Isn't that such an interesting story? No one ever talks about that, and it's crazy to me. Poor Benjamin. That's insane. Back to present day, we now have the witness that Rose and Emmett sent to the Cullen house, and this one is Garrett. Now, Garrett is a nomad, meaning he is not a part of a coven. But when he gets to the Cullen house, he is immediately fascinated by the Denali clan, especially Kate. We have two more nomads, Mary and Randall. They arrive at the same time, but they did not travel together. Carlisle and Esme returned first, and then Rose and Emmett not too long after them, maybe like a couple of days, and Carlisle brought another witness named Alistair. Alistair is a character, let me tell ya. Alistair is literally a loner. Like, that is the best way to describe him, and he wants nothing to do with the Volturi, and he just believes Carlisle right off the bat and says, I don't even need to get close to Renesmee. I don't have to touch her, anything. I believe you fully. And so that's what he does. He doesn't touch Renesmee, and he goes about his day in the Cullen house, leaving everyone alone. And Edward tells his family that Alistair is really scared to be here because he's scared of the Volturi, but he's also scared not to be here because he knows if he's not here, he will never understand the true outcome of this event. And this is because Alistair has always been very sus of the Volturi. And this is really confirming like his deepest fears. As I said, Alistair is a character. He is. Now we have the Amazon Coven, which was sent by Alice and Jasper. We only have 2 of the 3 members, by the way. The 3rd member was told by Alice not to come with them. Please make a mental note of that. One of the members of the Amazon Coven is named Sabrina, and she has an insane gift. She can cut off your sight completely. You can just be seeing black, or she can present any image she wants to you, and that is all you see. And so it is so powerful and crazy. Now I'm gonna do a little side note because I'm rather confused about this, and I hope this doesn't make me sound dumb, but they're called the Amazon Coven, leading one to believe they live in the Amazon. I would assume that. They don't. Zafrina and Senna, who are the 2 members that we've met from the Amazon Coven, are from Pantanal, which isn't the Amazon. I believe it's its own ecosystem. So I'm rather confused why that's not the name of their coven. And I don't know, that's really all I have to say about that. If you have an answer, let me know. Please and thank you. When Sabrina shows Edward and the rest of the family her gift, Renesmee speaks up and she's like, I wanna see. And from that moment going forward, it became so hard to get Renesmee away from Sabrina, and they're kind of best buds. She would just put all of these images and pictures in front of Renesmee in her mind, and Renesmee was obsessed with it. Edward starts trying to teach Bella how to fight, but it stresses him out because he doesn't want to have to think of Bella as a target. And so he bows out. Emmett happily steps in. He's having a ball with it. And some of their witnesses actually come forward and help Bella as well. And on top of them trying to teach her how to fight, Kate has been working with Bella trying to get her to be able to control her shields. Edward was literally the only one willing to help test out this shield. And also it kind of gives a bit more motivation for Bella. Like, oh, you're seeing Edward, the person you love, get hurt. Let's shield him. But sadly for Edward, Bella really cannot project her shield right now. And Kate is like, you know what? This isn't working. I think you need some more motivation. Nessie, come here. Nessie, let's get over here and let's see if you can help your mom out. And Bella's like, ain't no way. Do not call my daughter over here. Bella concedes a little bit, but not with Renesmee, with Edward. And they have Zafrina try out her gift, and it actually ends up working. Bella's shield ends up working to where anything that she's trying to have Edward see, Edward can't see now. Zafrina tries it on Renesmee. Bella blocks it. So we're learning to shield, and we are getting there, folks. We are getting there slowly but surely. They also try and test out how far Bella can get her shield to extend. And so Sabrina kind of cuts out everyone's sight that's in the area, and she's like, if you get your sight back, raise your hand. And Bella is trying to extend it, and she ends up getting it all the way to Kate. If you are under the shield, your gifts will work on those under the shield with you. We then hear 2 voices within the house, and they're voices we don't recognize. And these 2 voices belong to the Romanian coven, and nobody sent them. No one sent them. They're actually here because they've heard whisperings of people trying to take down the Volturi. And Carlisle is like, no, that's actually not what we're here for. We need witnesses, but if you want a witness for us, great. And the Romanian coven is just 2 men, Vladimir and Stefan? Not sure on that one. And they agree to stay. The Romanian coven was once the strongest one in the world. They were stronger than the Volturi, and the Volturi took them down, only leaving 2 left. Completely wiped them out. And the craziest thing to me, which is never discussed, is the Volturi got a lot of their ways from the Romanians. The Volturi is set up with guards to protect those at the top. They got that from the Romanians, except the Romanians' guards were people like Emmett that were huge and strong. The Volturi's guards are those with powers and special abilities to keep people out. And arrow collecting people with these talents is what took the Romanian coven down. And the fact that the Volturi stay in Italy, they stay where they need to be. They stay in the tower, they stay underground, they stay so that no one can get to them. They got that from the Romanians. Vladimir, Stefan, Stefan, whatever we want to call him, they were on their seat for years. And the Volturi got that from them. And they're pissed at the Volturi for taking everything from them, including their wives and their mates. And they want their revenge. That is why they do not like the Volturi, which, like, rightfully so. As I mentioned earlier, Amun is probably the oldest living vampire, but after would be the Romanians, and just by like a little bit, because at one time, the Egyptian coven and the Romanian coven were the two strongest ones. Volturi went after the Egyptians first, and then the Romanians. Cullen's ended up with 17 witnesses, and then their family has 11 members. This is including the Denali clan because they wanted to be included in the family number, not the witness number, which I think is kind of sweet. Charlie obviously isn't allowed to come over to the Cullen house anymore. It's more of a safety issue, if we're being honest, so Bella tells him that she will be over very soon so that he can see Renesmee. And she takes Jacob with them. They get in Edward's silver shiny Volvo, and Jacob sits down and he's like, I don't get why we're taking this car when you have a brand new Ferrari. I don't get it. The Ferrari is her vampire car, so she no longer is in that crazy tank of a vehicle. She has a Ferrari, but she's not driving it right now. When Bella, Jacob, and Renesmee get to Charlie's house, Bella tells Charlie, I need to run some errands. I'll come back and pick them up later. Charlie's like, you're behind on your Christmas shopping, huh? And Bella immediately is like, yes, I am. And in her mind, she's thinking, well, now I have an excuse to tell Edward as well. This is amazing. Because she's not actually going Christmas shopping. She needs to figure out who this J. Jenks person is. But it's so weird because when Bella actually goes to this address, she finds an abandoned building. She also sees this man whistling, and this man is whistling on the porch of a law office, and he's holding a newspaper as well. This man who's whistling tells Bella, hey, like, you really shouldn't park your car there. This isn't the safest of areas. And that's when Bella decides, like, maybe you can actually help me. I'm looking for someone. And as Bella gets closer to this man, she can hear his heart rate get faster and faster and faster. Especially when she mentions that she's looking for someone named J. Jenks. This man is like, why are you looking for him? What do you need him for? And this man's name is Max, and he says, you don't really look like the normal clients that I see, and normally people like you end up going to the fancy office. Not here. Bella tells Max that she doesn't even know why she needs to see this man, but her sister does. And this really piques Max's interest to where he's like, you know what? Let me give him a call. Let me see what I can figure out for you. And Max actually makes this phone call in front of Bella, and so Bella can hear everything that's going on. And as soon as Max mentions the last name Cullen, Jenks is like, well, why didn't you say so? Tell her to come to this address. Tell her to get there now. I will set up an appointment. Max gives her the address. She goes on her way, and she goes to this fancy office building, but it says Jason Scott Attorney Office on the front. Weird. And the lady at the front desk was like, we're not taking appointments. You don't actually even have an appointment. Like, you're not gonna go back and see him. But then the man we are looking for comes out and says, no, I need to see Miss Cullen right now. When he sees Bella, he goes, oh my goodness, am I finally meeting Jasper's lovely wife? And Bella goes, no, Jasper's my brother-in-law, but I was told that I needed to see you for something. Jenks is a little confused, and so he asks about Jasper's health, and when Bella's like, no, Jasper's just on a vacation, Jenks is like, oh, I understand, here you go. And he hands her a lot of different documents. He hands her 2 birth certificates, 2 passports, and 1 driver's license. And Bella immediately is like, 2? Wait, this doesn't make any sense. And when she looks at the name, she sees that it's for Jacob Wolf and Vanessa Wolf. Meaning that if we're following Alice's plan, Edward and Bella will not be going with Renesmee. And Renesmee and Jacob will be the only 2 able to get away from the Volturi. But even though this does freak Bella out a bit, she does give him the remaining information that he needs to finish these documents. And so she's like, yes, Jacob Wolf is 27 and the girl is 5. Let's go with that. She also asks if he can rush order these documents, and he says that he will meet her in 1 week at a restaurant. Bella goes back to Charlie's house. She picks up Renesmee. Jacob catches a ride back with Sue because he needs a break from the vampires. Bella and Renesmee go back to the Cullen house, and when they pull up, Bella hears Edward playing the piano, playing Bella's lullaby. And he hasn't played in so long that hearing him do this is just making her so happy. Bella also is thinking to herself like, okay, I can't let anything slip. I cannot let him know about all these new documents and Jay Jenks. I have to just play it cool. So she's like, yeah, I went Christmas shopping for Renesmee. I bought her this golden locket. And she shows him the locket and it's engraved with a French phrase that says, more than my own life. Bella tries to convince Edward, like, let me train with Emmett tonight. I feel like I need to get a little more training in, but she doesn't win this argument, and her, Edward, and Renesmee go back to their cottage for the night. And when they get back to the cottage, Bella is trying so hard to focus on the positives. Renesmee will be safe. Renesmee will be with Jacob, who will literally give up his life to save her. And even though she can't go with Renesmee and Jacob, she will be with Edward until the very end. Which is so sad because this is just some impending doom that she can't share with anybody. But you know what? That's a little sad for me. So Merry Flippin' Christmas. We're gonna celebrate it at Charlie's house. So Edward, Jacob, Renesmee, and Bella are at Charlie's house for Christmas. Jacob's pack is also there along with Sam, Emily, and Sue. I also want to add, because I don't think I've mentioned this, I now believe that Quill and Embry have joined Jacob's pack. So that means that Jacob's pack would consist of him, Leah, Seth, Quill, and Embry. Edward got Renesmee an MP3 player with 5,000 of his favorite songs. And Jacob got Renesmee a bracelet version of a promise ring, which really does not make Edward happy, but Bella actually kind of likes that he did this for her because it brings another wave of comfort knowing that she will be with Jacob and she will be safe. Oh, and Edward really saved the day, and he's a good son-in-law because he made sure that Charlie would get a present as well. He got Charlie a sonar fishing system, I think. Sadly, guys, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, and we have to actually get back to this impending doom. So we are at the Cullen house, and Alistair has left. I know I never put him on the board, but it doesn't matter because he's not here. He's gone. But we now have a moon who is shouting at Carlisle, accusing him of trying to steal his coven, accusing him of trying to steal Benjamin out from underneath him. I told you the Egyptian coven has some jealousy issues. Benjamin finally hops in and he's like, would you please calm down? I'm not leaving your coven, but we need to stay here. This is the right thing to do. Amun looks at Benjamin and says, I gave you this life. I gave you everything you have and you're wasting it. Benjamin replies with, too bad you couldn't replace my own will with yours. Maybe then you'd be happy with me. Whoo, guys, it's getting heavy, it's getting heavy, it's getting heavy. Basically, Amun is telling Carlisle, like, I will still stay here because Benjamin's here, but I am not fighting the Volturi. And when he says this, it kind of makes everyone else jump up and tell Carlisle where they stand. Everyone around the room, starting with the Romanians, get up and say, I will stand with you, Carlisle. Except we have a few undecided people. Peter, Charlotte, Mary, and Randall, they are undecided. They will still stay, but they are not sure if they are going to fight the Volturi or not. For timeline purposes, it's been about a week since Bella met with Jay Jenks for the first time, and it is time for them to meet up, have some lunch, and get those documents. We learned that he has worked with Jasper for more than 20 years, and Jasper's partner before him worked with him for 15 years. And the crazy thing about Jasper is Jasper still looks the same. He takes a very deep breath and he says, I need to talk to you about something very delicate right now. I need you to reassure me that the reason I'm giving you all these documents on this 5-year-old girl isn't so that you can steal her from her family. Ella quickly replies with, oh, no, that is not what we're doing. We are looking for a safe place for this girl. And this definitely settles his nerves. Now we have all the documents we need. Bella goes back home. Edward and Renesmee are at the cottage. She chooses to go to the Cullen house so that she can go in Alice and Jasper's closet. The reason she's in their closet is she is looking for a bag for Renesmee. Once Bella finds a bag that won't be too heavy for Renesmee, she is then going through all of Alice and Jasper's like petty cash lying around, and she ends up putting like 2 years worth of income in that backpack. Along with the cash, she puts in the passports, the birth certificates, and the driver's license. Bella's now sitting there and she's thinking to herself, if all of this goes according to plan, the Cullen family does not survive, we can't win this. But if Edward can take down Dimitri first, what's stopping Alice and Jasper from eventually meeting back up with Renesmee and Jacob? Bella knows that Alice won't be able to see Jacob and Renesmee to see where they are choosing to go, but Bella knows that Alice can still see Bella. This means that when Bella takes the piece of paper and writes Rio de Janeiro on it and puts it in the bag, Alice will know. Alice might not realize why she's putting in the bag, but it sure as heck should pique some interest for them to go, and it sure as heck should pique some interest for Jacob to go there whenever he sees it as well. So maybe one day they can be their own little family. It's actually almost time for the Volturi to get here. Carlisle and Edward have been going to the clearing for 2 days looking to see when the Volturi are going to arrive. The reason they're going to the clearing is that is where Alice saw them in her vision. Fun little fact, this is actually the exact place where the newborn battle happened, and they're having to camp out there the night before. So what do you know that Edward, Bella, and Jacob, with Renesmee of course, are now camping together again, which is giving Bella deja vu to Eclipse, which was about 7 months ago. And she's now thinking about how different her life is now than it was then. Next day when Bella is getting Renesmee ready, Bella tells Renesmee that she will love her for forever. She also has put a picture of Bella, Edward, and Renesmee in Renesmee's new locket so that she will always have it. This is when Bella finally tells Renesmee that Renesmee will have to leave and that she doesn't need to worry, but she also can't tell anybody right now, and Renesmee fully understands. Bella also decides that it's probably a good idea to wear the wedding present that Arrow sent to her, so she's now wearing that gaudy chain, thinking like, maybe they'll see this as a peace offering, maybe they'll see this as us wanting to be friends. Let's just start off on the right foot since this is probably going to be bad. And as everyone is getting information, we see the 32 members of the Volturi making their way across the clearing. And technically it's 34, but the 2 wives are not going to fight. And so really we only focus on the 32 coming at them, even though the 2 wives are trailing behind. Also, I don't know if I actually ever talked about this, but some of y'all might be thinking like, oh my goodness, only 2 of the 3 main people in the Volturi are married? Like, why isn't the 3rd one married? Marcus was. Marcus was head over heels in love with his wife. They were going to leave, and Arrow didn't want that to happen, so Arrow had Marcus's wife executed. The real crazy part about this is that Marcus's wife was actually Arrow's sister. So Arrow needed Marcus and the Volturi so badly that he unalived his own sister. That is so sad. So now Marcus has just been living out the rest of his days without the love of his life because she was taken away from him by her own brother. That is unhinged. I'm gonna add in a bit more of this lore because it is insane to me and it is so hard for me to wrap my mind around how twisted this is. Okay, so Marcus never knew, and he still doesn't know to this day, that Arrow was the one who eliminated his wife. He has no clue. And that is because Arrow basically went on a hunt for the person who got rid of his sister. He was like, we are going to find the culprit. We are going to solve this crime. They will not go unpunished. And so Marcus never knew that Arrow was the one who did it. But let me just tell you, Marcus was essentially in a catatonic state the moment his wife passed away and has been ever since. And the only thing that's keeping Marcus alive at this point in time is Chelsea. So not only is Chelsea holding him into the Volturi, but she's also holding him onto his own life because he doesn't want to be here. As I said, he's catatonic, he's miserable, he wants to be reunited with his wife, and they just aren't letting him. Arrow and Caius were kind of freaked out by Marcus's catatonic state, and they were like, oh my gosh, if we lose our wives, are we gonna be like that too? We can't rule if we're like that. And that is why their wives are essentially prisoners in the Volturi, because they do not want to lose them, because they don't want to be perceived as weak. And also they do love their wives. But you know what, while we're talking about the Volturi, let me add this in here. This is a movie irritation. I don't know why they made them this age within the movie, because it makes it look like Marcus is the oldest out of all of them physically, but he's not. I believe Marcus is in his 20s. Arrow should also be in his 20s, but Caius is like in his 40s physically. And he looks like the youngest one. I digress though. Let's get back waiting for the Volturi to actually make their way into the clearing. Garrett leans into Kate and he just whispers, the redcoats are coming. The redcoats are coming. Edward tells Carlisle that Alistair's crazy conspiracy theories were right. The Volturi are not coming to listen to us. The Volturi are just coming to destroy and to take. Because guys, this is literally a gold mine jackpot for Arrow right now with the amount of people with talents. Crazy. he's gonna feel like he won the lottery. We also have the confirmation that they're not going to want to listen to Renesmee at all, and they won't even care if Irina was wrong in the fact that Renesmee isn't an immortal child. They're gonna find another excuse to destroy this coven. The wolves have finally come forward, and this stops the Volturi in their tracks because they have never seen vampires work with wolves in general, but also they're similar to the vampire's mortal enemies. The vampire's mortal enemies were called Children of the Moon. And so seeing the Cullens with these wolves is unexpected, to say the least. And I just want to note that there are 17 wolves, so the packs have gotten bigger. The Volturi did bring Irina along with them, and it's a little bit of a standstill right now because the Volturi don't know what they want to do. And the reason we know this is because Edward knows this. Edward tells everyone this is the first time the Volturi have truly been outnumbered because Arrow does not count the witnesses that the Volturi have brought with them as people who will fight for them today. So they don't count. Edward turns to Carlisle and says, if you want to try and talk to Arrow, now is the only time you have. Brief commentator interruption. If you have seen Breaking Dawn Part 2, the movie, this is where it goes off the rails and it just goes completely off book. In my personal opinion, I enjoy the way it goes off book, but if you've only seen the movie, you're probably going to be really confused right now, so just hold on tight. I'm going to explain it, but this is really where the movie took matters into their own hands. And while we're here, I would like to add that in Forever Dawn, Laurent is still alive, and he is with the Cullens, and so is Irina. In Forever Dawn, Irina is not the one who goes to the Volturi to talk about the immortal child. It's actually Riley through Victoria. That is the reason that Victoria created this newborn army, was to use Riley as a pawn to tell the Volturi about what the Cullens were doing. That way the Volturi would not be aware that Victoria was aware there was an immortal child, so she couldn't really go down for anything. I want to hear all of y'all's opinions on this. Do you wish that that is how the book would have went? Because I kind of do. I think it would have been so interesting to have Victoria be that villain and mastermind throughout every single one of the books. Even having this final obstacle be puppeteered by Victoria, it just would have worked so well, and I wish they would have kept that. I really, really do. Back to the story though, Carlisle now steps forward to talk to Arrow. Arrow starts to walk closer to Carlisle, but he makes sure that Renata is still behind him. Remember, Renata is his personal bodyguard shield. Carlisle is like, Arrow, good friend, nobody has committed a crime here. Please just listen to us. Caius is the one to respond like, Carlisle, we can literally see the kid. Do you think we're blind? We can see it. Carlisle shakes his head and says, she is not immortal. You can literally see the blood pumping in her body. You can see the blood flushing her cheeks. She is a hybrid. We have witnesses. Please just hear us out. They then call Irina forward and Caius smacks the stew out of her. And when he does this, Caius just screams, is that not the child that you saw? And Irina goes, well, honestly, I don't know. She doesn't look the same. That doesn't look like the same kid. It looks a little older. Arrow finally steps in and he's like, give me your hands, Irina. He goes through Irina's mind and he tries to see what she saw that day. But as we already know, the Volturi really are looking for any excuse to eliminate the Cullens at this point and to fight. So Arrow is not ready to concede and he asks Edward to come forward. This makes Bella very, very anxious, especially when she sees Jane start to smile when Edward is getting closer. So Bella's like, you know what? I'm gonna throw that shield out early. I'm going to throw the shield around my husband and I'm going to try to protect him. But then she remembers, oh my God, if I put the shield around Edward, Arrow's not gonna be able to read his thoughts and then he's gonna know I'm a shield. So she does have to leave him unprotected for a little bit. Arrow has now gone through Edward's mind. He has seen everything and he now asks if he can meet Renesmee. They decide that they are going to meet in the middle of both of their groups. Arrow also turns around to all his people and he's like, no one freak out. As long as we are all peaceful, this is going to be fine. Edward, reading everyone's thoughts, is like, you should probably bring 2 guards with you, otherwise everyone else is gonna freak out. Bring them with you, ease their nerves. Let's go to the middle. 2 guards that Arrow chooses are Felix and Dimitri. Edward tells Bella to come and bring Renesmee, and they also bring Jacob and Emmett with them. And Emmett is just smiling up a storm right now. Arrow asks Bella if he can meet Renesmee, and Renesmee is the one that responds saying, hi, Arrow. He holds out his hand wanting to read Renesmee's thoughts, but Renesmee's like, I'm gonna do one better for you. And she reaches out and touches his face. And crazily enough, he listens. She even says, Please do not hurt the ones that I love. He responds with Renesmee, I have no desire to hurt anybody that you love. Not today. He's also now looking at the wolves, and the reason he's doing this is he's trying to figure out their potential. Clearly they're working with the Cullen, so does that mean the wolves can one day work with the Volturi? I mean, that would make his army even stronger. Edward, reading his thoughts, says that will never happen in a million years. And then something happens in his thoughts that causes Edward to hiss. He looks at the Cullen family and says, I must now talk to my brothers and we will make a decision. Edward is backing up and he is yanking Bella and Emmett with him. And Renesmee is holding on to Jacob's tail, essentially yanking him back with her. Caius is not happy with the situation and everyone can hear him arguing with Arrow. Bella is really feeling the anxiety, and so she is getting that shield ready and she is setting it up around everyone that she loves. We learn that Bella currently cannot put a shield around all of the werewolves because there are so many of them, and her shield can only go so far because she's still new and she's still learning. But when she puts the shield around Sam, since he is an alpha, the other wolves in his pack are shielded too. Is that not so cool? We hear Caius say, if you stand with our enemy, and Edward interrupts saying, they are not your enemy. They are not the children of the moon. The children of the moon can only come out when the moon is up. It is broad daylight. How do you think the wolves would be here if they were your mortal enemy? Hello? They wouldn't be able to. And this is when we get really specific and we learn that the wolves are not werewolves. And even Bella is like, huh? And this is because what happens to the wolves that we know is genetic. Somebody is not putting venom in their bodies to create werewolves like they do with vampires, which makes them more like shapeshifters, which we knew, and wolves, not children of the moon / werewolves. According to the illustrated guide, children of the moon are most similar to the traditional werewolf myth, aka they change their physical form into a wolf whenever there is a full moon out. But unlike the shapeshifters, they don't fully resemble a wolf. There are a lot of physical differences. For example, their forelegs are a lot more powerful than their hind legs, and they also have usable hands and opposable thumbs. So I'm basically imagining like Lupin from Harry Potter vibes. That is what I'm imagining. And it even says the way they move is more ape-like instead of wolf-like. These children of the moon literally lose their human identity when they turn. In fact, it says that they are more feral than rational, and that's a direct quote, by the way. Unlike the shapeshifters, they don't run in packs. They like to be alone. These werewolves cannot create werewolves by breeding. They can only create more werewolves by turning humans into one through their bite. Very similar to vampires. And the infected humans do not pass down a gene to create more wolves like the shapeshifters we know. Children of the Moon can very easily defeat a vampire just based on their strength alone, but vampires are still aware of everything that is going on, whereas Children of the Moon, they lose their human self altogether and they really don't use too much of the noggin whenever they're fighting. But on the other hand, Children of the Moon have the huge advantage of no vampire bite will ever affect them. Whether they're in their human form or their werewolf form, the bite will never affect them. The reason Children of the Moon and vampires are natural enemies is because, one, they want the same food source, and both of these species can eliminate the other. It makes them a danger to one another. Illustrated Guide says that over time, vampires hunted these werewolves and almost led them to complete extinction. Do you guys know who led this hunt on the werewolves? Do you know? That would be Caius. That was one of Caius's main things he did in the Volturi, was he led these hunts, trying so hard to eliminate these Children of the Moon because years and years and years ago, Caius was once in an attack with them and he felt weak and vulnerable and he never wanted to have that feeling again. Caius is getting even more irritated. He's like, you know what? I need to talk to Irina again. Bring her forward. Irina is just apologizing, saying, I am so sorry. I thought she was a mortal child. And all of them are like, yeah, well, I understand why you thought she was a mortal child. That makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is, why did you feel the need to spy on the Cullen family in general? Irina says, I was mad and I was upset with the Cullens because these wolves killed my friend. And the Cullens wouldn't let me avenge my friends, that they did not stand with us on this topic. And that's the kicker, guys. That piece of information is what the Volturi was looking for. Because Caius now has the ammunition to say, oh, okay. So the Cullens have gone against their own kind to be with these wolves. Irina, if you would like to make a formal complaint, now would be the time. But Irina throws them for a curveball. Irina says, no, I don't want to file a complaint. I am so sorry. She then turns to all of the Volturi's witnesses and says, there has been no crime here. This is all my fault. The Cullens have done nothing wrong. And before anyone could do anything, Irina is torn to pieces and set on fire. You guys see what's happening right here? Do you see that they never needed her to file a formal complaint? They wanted this moment. They wanted the Denali clan to watch their sister get destroyed in hopes that they would retaliate. And Edward gets this. Edward now screams, stop them. Carlisle and Edward have wrapped their bodies around Tanya, trying to talk some sense into her. But guys, Kate has powers. Kate essentially acts like a taser, and we have everyone trying to stop her. Rosalie barely takes a step in Kate's direction before Kate sends her to the ground. Emmett is now reaching out for Kate, but Kate takes him down too, and Garrett is just getting tased. Like literally he is in pain, but he's not moving off of her. But this works, and Kate and Tanya do not go to attack the Volturi. Since that did not work out for the Volturi is like, you know what, okay, let's talk to some witnesses, and they see a moon. They know a moon. They go way back. So Era goes up to a moon and he asks him everything. And once he gives his testimony, he grabs his mate and they leave. It's now time for the Irish coven to give their statements. We start with Siobhan, who is the leader, and she says the exact same thing that a moon says, except Siobhan adds that Renesmee understands limitations and she would actually behave around humans better than we even do. These witnesses are not really saying what they're looking for. So he takes a minute, he takes a second, he turns to his people and to his witnesses and he says, no laws have been broken here, but how could we know what this thing is capable of? There has never been anything like her before. Who's to say that one day she will not turn against all of us? It is a danger to keep her around. It is a danger to us. Carlisle speaks up and he's like, that is a reach. You are reaching right now. And Garrett is no longer in pain from being tased. He takes a step forward and he speaks. Garrett says, I came to witness for this child, but I am staying to witness for something else. These vampires did not come here for justice. He's talking to the Volturi witnesses, by the way. And you are about to watch them lie and stretch the truth to justify destroying this family. There is no aggression here. They do not care if this child is dangerous or not. They care about our free will, which they want to take away. Still looking at the Volturi witnesses, he says, you might want to join us, because if you think the Volturi will let you live after seeing what's happened here today, you have another thing coming for you. If we fall, you fall too. That was an incredible speech. Give him a round of applause. I hope y'all are giving him a standing ovation. That was so moving and so good. Hello? And when Garrett's done, he steps back and he takes his place next to Kate. You can kind of tell Arrow's like, well, where do I go from here? But let's talk to my witnesses. Let's see what my witnesses have to say. His witness asks, do we have two options? Do we have to agree with you or do we have to fight you? He shakes his head and he says, no, you can leave in peace, just like a moon did. The witness says, we did not come to fight. We came to witness, and we have witnessed this family's innocence. He now goes back to his people and he says, we are outnumbered. Should we leave this clearing to save ourselves? Leading him to say, well, my brothers and I have to decide. And so they are now going to make their decision. Bella, who has been told these stories over and over again, who knows that there is a pattern, realizes that now is the time to send Renesmee off. Edward is so shook right now, and so is Jacob, because they had no clue that this was going to happen. But Jacob doesn't hesitate and he listens. Renesmee hugs Edward. Edward goes over to Bella and says, so this is what you're keeping from me. Bella says, not you, but them. This is what Alice needed. Bella tells Jacob that he is the only one that they would trust with Renesmee, and that he will always be her best man. Edward says, bye, Jacob. And I quote, my brother, my son. Carlisle, who just watched this happen, says, so there's no hope for us. And Bella responds with, there's hope. I just know my own fate. I don't know y'all's fate. I just know my own. And Edward is fully aware that when she says my own fate, she means hers and his fate. Garrett looks at Kate and says, if we survive this, I will follow you anywhere. A king. I love Garrett. Guys, so much is happening right now. We learn that Chelsea is trying so hard to break the shield because she wants to sever the alliances that they have, that she wants to see who can be swayed over to the Volturi. But guys, she can't. Edward looks at Carlisle and Edward's like, are you feeling okay? Carlisle's like, I am. Should I not be? And he asks this because Edward can tell that Jane is trying to attack Carlisle right now. She is doing her pain and nothing is affecting Carlisle in the shield. And yes, guys, the Volturi are doing what the Volturi have always done. They are attacking the opposite side before the decision has truly been made. AKA, they're using Chelsea to try and sway people. They are using Jane because Jane is crazy, and they are using Alec in hopes that his mist will just make it so they can't run away. Let me tell y'all something. Our Romanians over here are living it up. They are so excited for what's happening right now, and they love the fact that the Volturi look weak. They've been waiting centuries for this. We still don't really know if Alec's powers can make it through Bella's shield or not. We haven't tested it yet, and his is a lot slower than Jane's. Jane's is immediate. Alec's takes some time to get there. And his power looks almost like a mirage. Benjamin is here trying to use the wind and use the elements to send it away, but it's not working. Benjamin also causes the ground to shake and crumble a bit, hoping that this will also stop the mirage coming to them. It didn't, but it also didn't matter because guess what? Bella's shield is so strong, ain't nothing getting in there. Bella looks at Edward and she says, you have to get to Dimitri. Do not worry about me. Zafrina will keep me safe. Kate says that she wants Jane. Vladimir says that he wants Alec. And Tanya wants Caius. Arrow is looking out at what's happening right now. He can see that his people's powers and talents aren't really doing anything. And so he says, everyone please remember that there is no fighting before a decision has been made. And he adds, the Volturi will also happily accept most of you if you just come to our side. AKA those with gifts. We hear Caius say that child must be destroyed. Marcus, on the other hand, is like, does she actually have to be destroyed right now? Like, is this an immediate problem? Can't we just wait and see what's gonna happen with her in the future? And before that final vote gets cast, we hear Edward go, yes! And then he speaks a little louder and he goes, if you can see how she will develop, is there even a reason to decide? Can't we all be friends again? To which we get a response of, well, yes, of course. Edward says, well, then let me offer you this, but before that, can you please tell Jane to stop trying to attack my wife right now? And then Edward says, come on out, Alice. And everyone is so happy to see Alice. Alice has been looking for her own witnesses. And this is also why the third member of the Amazon Coven did not go to the Cullen house, because she was with Alice and Jasper trying to find another witness. Alice introduces two people. We have Cullen and Nahuel. Cullen is Nahuel's aunt, by the way. Here's some background for you. Cullen's sister is Nahuel's mother, and this woman told Cullen that an angel found her in the woods and she was now carrying its child. Cullen did not want her sister to have this baby, but when her sister made this decision, she still respected it. Cullen's sister sadly did not survive childbirth, but Cullen promised her sister that she would look after this kid. But here's the crazy part, because Nahuel actually bit his aunt like seconds after he was born. And he was able to turn her into a vampire. That means that his bites are venomous, unlike Renesmee's. A few years later, Nahuel's father, Johem, actually comes back for him. He says that he's only ever had daughters and that he is his only son. So please, please, please come join me. Obviously, he doesn't do that at all. He stays with his aunt, but this is where we learn that any of these hybrid girls do not possess venom. So none of his sisters can turn people into vampires. That is just something a male hybrid can do. And if you're wondering like, oh my goodness, how many kids does Joem have? Why does he keep having more and more kids? This doesn't make any sense. He's doing this because he wants to create an army, essentially. It is like a superhuman, super vampire army. Back to present day, Nahuel is now 150 years old. He reached maturity at 7 and he hasn't aged since then. He also eats human or vampire food just like Renesmee. This makes the Cullen family so happy because it shows that they will get to have Renesmee for forever. Arrow processes this information rather quickly, looks at Bella, and says, there is no danger here. I am happy to have solved this with no violence. Carlisle, I am sorry that this occurred and hopefully in the future you can forgive me. And that's that, guys. The Volturi are now on their way out of here. There was no fight. There was no vision. There was just the witnesses. And essentially Arrow was just using Alice as a little bit of a scapegoat and an excuse to leave the battlefield because they all knew that they would not win at this point. And the only ones disappointed in this outcome are the Romanians because all they wanted to do was fight. Renesmee and Jacob are now back. Renesmee goes to Edward and Bella and she says, I get to stay with you now? To which Bella responds with forever. And Edward also says, forever. I personally, as a viewer, really liked the battle scene that they had in the movie just because there was something going on. I feel like in the book, it gets a tad bit boring because you're leading up to this epic battle and then nothing ever happens. Issue with them including the battle in the movie though is there's continuity errors in it because Alice can literally not show you a vision including Renesmee and including the shapeshifters because she loses signal. They're never included. And her in the movie showing Arrow all of this wouldn't work. It just wouldn't happen. So from entertainment standpoint, I appreciate it. Continuity standpoint, confusing. It is confusing, it is confusing. We are now back at the Cullen house and Edward tells everybody that Arrow is scared of Bella's powers and that the Volturi will probably come back one day, but not for all of us at once. They're going to want to pick us off one by one. But it's not a big deal because we have Alice who will tell us who they're coming for and when they are coming. They also say somebody really needs to find Alistair and tell him what happened because otherwise he's just gonna be living in fear for the rest of his existence. Bella is so happy that Alice is back and she looks at Alice and she's like, I don't get why you sent me on a scavenger hunt. You could have just told me all this to begin with. And Alice says, you're not a good actress, Bella. I couldn't have done that. Everyone would have known that you were lying about something. And plus I needed time to find those witnesses. I knew that they were the only ones who really could help us. Also, I needed every single one of y'all to think that I abandoned you. That way, the Volturi wouldn't think that you guys had some kind of secret up your sleeves. Bella's kind of thinking about the fact that Nahuel's like the only male hybrid known to existence at this point. And the fact that the only female hybrid known to exist is her daughter is kind of tripping her out a little bit. And she wonders if Jacob has even thought about that yet. Basically, Bella's thinking, don't tell me that Jacob's about to be involved in another love triangle. Fear not, everyone, fear not, that probably won't happen. Edward is so impressed that Jacob did not think about the fact that in 6 years, Renesmee will be at full maturity. That did not cross his mind one time. And Bella quickly says, well, that's because at this moment in time, all Jacob wants is for her to be happy. It is not romantic right now. We as an audience learned that the reason that Nahuel was looking at Bella and kind of looking at Renesmee is because Bella represents the life his mother could have had. And that thought makes him rather sad, honestly. It is now just Bella and Edward, and Bella tells Edward that she wants to show him something. Bella grabs Edward's face and she pushes her shield away. And when Bella does this, she lets Edward in to all of her memories. Bella says, now you know that nobody has loved anyone as much as I love you. Edward's like, nah, not quite, but let's try that again. And Bella says they will have all the time in the world to work on it. To which Edward says, forever and ever and ever. The end. That is the end of Breaking Dawn. Now let me tell you about the Forever Dawn epilogue because it's kind of a Batman moment for Bella, honestly. In the Forever Dawn epilogue, we get to see Max again, and we learn that Bella left Max with her phone number and said, call me if you ever need me. Well, Max is getting attacked by like 5 people and he uses this phone number to call Bella. Bella and Edward pull up and they defeat all of them, and apparently it is a really cool fight scene for Bella. And they take Max to the airport so that he can go somewhere safe. And that is how Forever Dawn ends. Now that is the end of Breaking Dawn. Holy cow, that was a lot of information. Again, I need each and every one of y'all run to the comments and tell me, do you want Midnight Sun or Life and Death first? I will get to working on that, and just thank y'all so much for being here and coming along on this crazy ride with me. I will see y'all soon. I love y'all. Goodbye, everybody.